Hello and welcome back to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Ben.
And I'm Chris.
I'm Swizz.
And thank you for joining us. Welcome back. It's a new Supercoach Insider where if I'm not here, they're not recording. So please do meet you. SC Insider 100. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, all the audio platforms as well. Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, you name it. And on the YouTube, Chris.
Yeah, search for Supercoach Insider. Welcome, lads. I just want to start the podcast on a high note. I've got the vino in the right hand, the beer and the bourbon in the left, ready to go because tonight is the last night before I start an 8-week challenge. So I will be dry for 8 weeks. So whatever's in the house has to go tonight. So I do apologize to everybody, but it might get a bit messy is what I'm saying.
Love it.
Wow.
I'm on the lem sip, so
Yep.
I'm slightly different to you.
The hard stuff, hey, the lem sip.
Coming off the high horse, and Chris last week just posted his team section nice and early and just reaped. Yeah, they're losing their minds, and I'm reaping all the benefits. Everyone's thinking, "Oh, what lovely Supercoach content the boys have got together." Oh no, it's just Chris's team.
Yeah, right. I got like 5,000 views or something on my team pod.
And
I do.
fuck you nicely for your VC change, Chris. Everyone's upset last minute.
Dude, I just get itchy trigger finger, on the Friday night, and I'm like, nah, I gotta go.
But I talked about anybody who tuned into my pod. I was like, I'm pretty sure Chris is on Dunkley this week, so get on board because
nice. Because it's going to go huge.
If they tuned in on Friday morning, they would know that.
Exactly right.
Yeah, so that's it. The last minute update.
I feel like Dave pays attention, but Ben doesn't.
That's right.
Me. You tagged me
my
twice.
last 3 pods on the Friday, Benny Boy, and that I've announced who Chris is on. And I've gone, it's probably worthwhile getting on what Chris is saying. However, this is the way I'm going.
Did you go? And of course, I'm guessing you went Taranto, did you?
Yeah, of course, mate.
Yeah. Did you take the 118?
No, I went to Clary.
You're a smart man. I did the reverse. I did the reverse, Chris, because I got 2 attachments. Chris is like, "Hey Ben, I'm going this person." I was like, "Wonderful." And he's like, "Hey, what do you think about Dunkley guys? Only 1 or 2% going VC." A question.
2.2%.
It was a question, not a tag. Yeah. Anyway, so I was like, "I'm off the hook." He's going Dawson. I was like, "Cool, I'll go VC Clary." I did the reverse, Chris, and I got sucked in last minute, and I made Taranto VC, and I actually took the 118 because I was like, so I did the reverse.
That's the best captain score you've had all year. So,
hey, sometimes you have to pay double for that kind of action, Chris. Yeah. So look, apologies for I think the last couple of weeks I've been a little bit less on the recording platform. I've had extra work commitments trying to help. Having another person that I'm responsible for as far as all of the university check marks and all the rest of it there. Plus also Chris went for the high note. I'm going to go for a little bit of the low note here, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so look, just a shout out. If you are struggling, please talk and love your friends and shout out as well. Because that's 3 people that I've known this year that have lost their life by choice. So just, look, Black Dog Institute or just reach out, sing out a mate. Love someone, talk to them, just shout out, hey, because that's, 3 people from 33 to 37, 33, 36 within that bracket, 3 of them this year that I've known. So just makes you reflect a little bit. So it's kind of been pretty much the last few weeks of busy, but also reflection. So,
yeah, no, 100%, Ben. We had the did Beyond Blue stuff last year at the Cricket Club. We're in the same boat. I was in the same boat with a mate as well. So, yeah, it's never good, never fun. And that's, definitely encourage people to, reach out and stuff. And I know actually I chatted to a few people last year about this when I was going through an incident at work. And I think most people know what job I do and what incident that could have been. So, and saying, seeing actually psychology support because of that. And I know a few mates because of that actually reached out and said, actually, I'm going through a lot of stuff. And I've started doing the same thing for their personal stuff. So, it's good to see that. And if you don't want actually professional help, there's always mates who are happy to grab a beer and have a talk and whatever, so just reach out.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think like my personal experience with that is it's always hard to talk about, generally speaking, because a lot of people are almost ashamed of the issues that they're dealing with and don't want to share it with their friends. They don't want to share it with their family for fear of judgment. Yep. I think what we should really push out there is that your friends have your back no matter what, and you usually would know who they are. So don't be afraid just to reach out if you need to, because there's nothing worse. So Absolutely.
Anyway, so I know we don't
bandwagon.
have to push that message, but it's just been something that I wanted to get off my chest, and this is our platform to do so. But if you are out there, please do talk to someone, or just, I'd rather have a mate crying and fuck me, I'd rather go see him than go to a funeral. So, and yeah, same thing. Sometimes you just have to kind of swallow your pride and just kind of say, hey, I'm hurting. And even if you don't know how to express it, just say like, dude, I don't know what's going on. So yeah, that's it. A little, side section there. You boys, you're going to kick us off because we're going to today. We're looking at a structure. There's a few rookies and a few half rookies. So bubble boys, or I can't even call them all bubble boys now because we need a new name because the
guys that have the potential to be subbed.
or the sub. It's funny because we were talking about the sub ruining rookies and cash generation, but we didn't really factor in the fact that some people might be sub and then all of a sudden they've gone up in price, and you're like, oh. Or a Roberts who goes down in price and then stays irrelevant. So,
yep. There are a few rookies that are like that. I was actually keeping an eye on one that was had an 8 this week. Oh, Bytel's gone down to 133K. So he's literally dropped price from his obviously starting price. If he ends up not being the sub every now and then, and so there's another injury in there, you could absolutely pick up Bytel. I actually think he's got decent scoring potential if he was in the 22 playing a good role, but he's not going to get there. So, it's just happening all over the park.
Yeah, where's Windhager then? He's been sub heaps as well, actually, for that team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So much for a breakout. All right, let's just go through the rookies and the breakout, I guess, cash money makers, however we want to put that first of all. And what are we going? First up, boys, where are we looking? You going with the Weddle man or where?
So,
Chris will push that one.
Yeah, look, everyone's, I suppose, let's start by saying this. I think everyone is in a very different position with their team, right? So it's got to the point where some people have burned through their cash. They've got real cash gen problems. They have bad rookies on field that they're trying to upgrade. And the only cash that they've made is from guys that are on their field. Therefore, they're then trading in bad rookies to replace them on field. And it just compounds and compounds and compounds, right? So in that sort of situation, you can't really trade in a Weddle because a Weddle is not really an on-field option. So if you're trading out someone who's on your bench and Weddle's going to be on your bench, then fine. Like, it's a completely fine choice. But also expect that Weddle could not be playing next week or the week after or the week after that. Having said that, there aren't really any other options that also don't have the potential to not be playing next week and the week after and the week after that. So my view of it is now, anyone that you're trading in from a rookie, you've got to try and make sure they're a bench option, not an option that you are looking at to be an on-field scorer or, quick cash gen or anything like that. Like, realistically, the guys that you're trading in, you're trading out guys that are already, accumulated their cash, and that's how you're trying to upgrade your team on your field. But I know that not everybody is in that position, and that's the problem.
And it's dire when people are talking about trading out premiums to generate cash. Like,
yeah, right.
It's bad when people going, oh, like Bontempelli's 725K. I could go down to Steel, which might have been which might have looked like a good idea the other week, but
that's too early yet. Bond's going to get to 750.
Yeah, but that's,
yeah, next week's actually this week's Bond's going 150 guaranteed, guys.
Yeah, 150 and getting to 750.
I mean,
25K.
Josh Dunkley had his best game of the year playing on Crips, and so did what's his name? Jordan Dawson. What do they have in common? They're those big-bodied mids that they're defensive style mids, and they've just bodied up on Crips. Crips lost those defensive bones that he had in his body, and now he's just like, see you later, catch you on. And the thing about Bont is he's also leading the league in clearances. I think it's going to be massive Bont score this week. Like, I know I'm talking the 180 again or something like that, but I'm being conservative and saying 150. All right, guys.
So is that a VC or a C on? Because they play fairly late. Is it Saturday night?
Well, yeah, it'll depend on a few things. I'm going with a real risky early option at the VC.
Ooh,
and then
tell us so we can get on now, mate. Like,
well, I'm probably going to bring in Mills this week, and I'm probably going to VC him against Freo, because if you have a look at Freo's history of the last 7 games, Supercoach mid options, every single one of them has gone massive. Every single one.
Every freaking week. So we're getting him Mills and we're making him VC. you just don't miss, mate. It's ridiculous. It's genuinely ridiculous.
And it's at the SCG.
You're like Ben last year. Just do not. It's
thanks,
going to be
mate.
my year
Mate,
next year on these sort of things because
This is like Austin Powers.
Jeez.
He's gone back in time and
My-
taken my mojo.
My captain Riz is on point, is what I'm saying.
absolutely it is.
Bloody Riz,
Right,
Riz,
so you've
Riz.
heard it first there, guys. Bring in Mills and make him VC. He's going 160.
This
170. Actually,
anyone that gets
no, you
like,
have to go more than Bont to make it work. So he's probably going. He's doing what he did last year, the
180.
214 game.
this is true.
Yeah.
So anyone that's any good mid that is going up against Freo is just literally licking their lips every single week. So I recommend absolutely Mills this week, and Clary next week is an absolute must. So
I regret
bringing in-
asking
You
you
don't
your
already have Clary?
VC.
Oh.
I regret asking
Sorry?
your VC, Chris. You can get into that when we get to the premiums. Yeah, well, this is the rookie section.
all right, I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
I
well,
said,
that's
who are
it.
you VCing and seeing,
We
and then
will,
you start
we'll
talking.
touch on it a bit later. I know we got a tangent again. We're going with this.
And then you start talking premiums. This guy, this guy.
So, all right, well,
we
we'll
talk
finish the
Atkins?
Weddle chat. So, look, what the thing is with Weddle, obviously, what we know from Hawthorn is they've also obviously still got Mitchell as well playing in the halfback role, and they've got like 15 halfbacks. Like, so there is every chance that he's not in there. However, obviously, a high draft pick, that someone that they love, they want to get games into him. He looked 100% more settled this week than he was last week, and so I think that with him, it's just about development, and he just needs more time in the ones. Are they going to give that to him? How many weeks does he get? I don't know. He could be out as soon as this week. They've got Giath obviously coming back potentially. And that's not to say he was dropped because of I think form, right? Like it wasn't. He's been playing pretty poorly. It wasn't an injury related, I don't think, right? I think he was dropped.
Yeah. Well, this is the whole thing. Hawthorn and the supporters have got no issue with this by the looks of things. And they were talking about this on radio down here. But every time they get smashed, they're like, well, that's just one step closer to Harley Reid. And because West Coast has been getting smashed, they actually have to keep getting smashed just because so it doesn't come down to percentage.
Right.
And Harley Reid played for the Blues VFL. I think he made his debut, so that's the club that he's been assigned to.
Yeah, and he
I think
towed up.
I think in his second game for it, he was their best player. Absolutely towed the game.
Do you know what's
And
more
that's-
impressive with that game is that he actually racked up the pill and had like plenty of ball, like tackles, you name it. And he was actually up against like Jared Lyons, Robertson,
Yeah.
Matheson. So they're like, as far as VFL goes, they're three pretty big names that can handle themselves in VFL. And yeah, he still held his own as an underage.
Yeah, and more than held his own. He walked off as the Blues' best player. So I think for the Hawks, let's just put as many games into these kids as possible and be it Weddle. And who really cares if we get smashed? And maybe they're thinking as well, if we get smashed enough, maybe we can put in for a priority draft pick or something like that.
I think they've actually already signed themselves out of that. By the way, they were asked that earlier in the year, like if it was offered to you, would you take it? And they're like, we don't deserve it because the moves that we've made, so they're not even going to apply.
They'll still do it, and they'll probably get like that extra second round pick or something like that.
Just quickly as well, Mitchell did say that I think their top 15 is pretty well set, but he said from after that, like from 15th through to 30th or 35th, he said they're quite even. So that's why you see a lot of chopping and changing, because it's like, hey, we've got like 15 players that we think are at the level at the moment, and then the others we kind of chop and change and try and give them experience when necessary or when they earn it, which is why you do see a lot of the chopping and changing at the moment with some of those fringe players, which is why, again, Weddle's probably a little bit more of the, so Chris.
Yeah, and the other thing is, of course, so, I mean, you probably wouldn't want to drop him this week, potentially, but obviously they've got Melbourne, right? So they're not going to put up a fight regardless what team they put out there, but then they've got West Coast next week. So you don't want to be seen to be like, oh, we're going to bring in Giath this week, but next week we're going to bring back Weddle because we want to tank again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that they want to try and lose that West Coast game. So you'd think that they would sort of roll with a more inexperienced team for the next few weeks.
Yeah, the most debuts they've ever had in 10 years or something in one round. Oh, are they traveling or are they at home? Because that's a big difference. Oh, people are a bit tight. We don't want to travel them.
At Tassie. So
okay.
They are technically traveling. So
You're right.
But, further to more, well, I've just got it here, guys, so that's discussion. So you've got like the second best player was Jared Lyons, 113 fantasy. Matheson after that. You got Darcy Fort and Dev Robertson. But Harley Reid, 116 AFL fantasy points. Just absolutely.
That's insane, hey?
That's insane when you've got those sort of senior players playing for Brisbane.
And, well, Brisbane Lions VFL are undefeated in that, aren't they? Like, they're actually like winning every game by 10 goals plus. Yeah. Like,
and
crazy.
this kid just comes in and just says, yeah, boys, this is why I'm going number one.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Can we just move
so
on to
that, I think that's why they keep playing Weddle and
Atkins.
Mitchell, because who cares? They want him.
Straight
They
in,
need him.
Swizz. Straight in, Swizz. Atkins, 203K. You're getting asked questions.
Yes.
Was it the poor man's Seagull? It's kind of like the Kmart version of Seagull. It's a Lockie Hunter Jr., a guy who got traded. Didn't get like a 5-year contract coming out of
4 year or
Adelaide.
5 year? Yeah, it was big.
5-year maybe contract coming out of Adelaide, and has probably played maybe 5 games or less in that time. So, I mean, people are upset with Luke Jackson's contract. I think Atkins has been getting paid to do nothing.
Oh, 100%. And that I don't
Sell me on him.
disagree with that at all.
203K, defender mid. Is that the perk? Sell me on him.
I think it's just the like we've all thought that he can do it if he got the opportunity. It was always surprising why he never got the opportunity, because they as you said, they paid big for him. They brought him in. He was a regular at Adelaide. He played 22, 22, 20 and 20 at Adelaide, and his Supercoach average those years was 74, 78, 76 and 75. So you're going, okay, this guy playing out the wing, he's got the history. We always talk about, do that player has the history. Comes to the Suns and it's 8, 9 and 2 games, and just hasn't had the opportunity. So maybe now, because the scoring's not the problem. Like, he's averaging 78 over his first 2 games. We just said 4 years in a row there, he's averaged over 75 at Adelaide playing in that role. It's just a case of job security. And I feel like he's the guy, that sort of guy that Chris said, if you're bringing in a rookie, you're meant to be benched, but this is a guy that could be a player on your team. And could play, either M8 or D6 and be a handy buy option, because the Suns have that weird buy. So make 150K, do everything right. But at the same time, the problem is he's a premium and then shaky job security. Benny?
So are you on board or off board? Because you sold me in a circle.
I'm really tempted on it. It's just a case of, do I want to downgrade and then upgrade and bring in like a Mills or Brayshaw? Or is it the case that I can just like double downgrade and Atkins as that second downgrade to beef up cash the following week? Because I can see him being, if he keeps his job.
Is there a pun intended there, Swizz?
What? With
Atkins, beef.
Yeah.
Bit lean there, boys. Chris is trying to pick it up. Atkins diet, Chris?
Like
Come
Atkins
on, mate.
Diet,
yeah, where you eat beef, where you eat meat only.
I don't know what the Atkins diet is.
Highbrow.
I eat food. Calories, that's it. All the calories for tonight, all of them.
You talk about his previous history, though. We had, and Chris can attain to this, where it was literally Atkins would get 60 one week, 100 the next. 60, 100, 60, 100. He was one of the most infuriating people ever to own in draft. So I'm not sure if that's going to change at Gold Coast. I don't like his security that much.
He still gets that average, and for the price.
Yeah, the up and down, though. What's his break even going to be like, though? I'll throw a 60 out, maybe.
That can be the hard thing. But at the same time, if he puts in 100 and if he goes, and he's the sort of guy that can go back-to-back 100, but he can go back-to-back 60.
The problem's generally his ball use. He's an absolute hack, and that's not great for his position he's playing at the moment. I mean, so the biggest problem for me is job security, right? So the only reason that you're getting him, is job security, right? Let's talk about cash gen first, because I want to go. I'll come back to that.
200K sucks too, Chris. Like, right, to high up 200K.
He's high up at 200K, right? So let's compare him to Weddle, for example. So Weddle's 70K cheaper. Weddle needs to average 50, 55 or something to make 100 grand, 120 or 130 grand, like to get to where Wilmot is, right? You need to be, let's say, averaging 55. He needs to be averaging 70 plus. Now he can do that, but then he would just made the same amount of cash. So therefore, you're not getting him for cash purposes, because he still only makes 120, 130K, right? Benny, do you want to?
Yeah, I was just going to say, can we use my personal humiliation experience in this? When you had Van Ruin on the bubble, you had Samson Ryan, and I got clever and went with Clark, right? Yep. And he was getting 60s after he got like an 80 or whatever for the first couple of rounds, and he only didn't make much cash because, again, you need the higher average. And then when I wanted to upgrade in the week after, I was like, man, fuck, I wish I had that 50K and I could have got that premium, but now I'm like just short. So the money you free up is huge. And I think you're better off probably risking it on a guy with similar job security, but has to average you less to make you more money.
That's the thing. He's got the same job security, and we'll find out a little bit more about his job security this week, because there was 3 guys that are in the best 22 that didn't play this week that all didn't pass fitness tests, and that's Weller, who's obviously the like-for-like replacement, Ainsworth and Holman. So the thing is, right, so Roses, who was the sub 2 weeks ago, kicked 4 goals this week. So he's not getting dropped. There's no way you get kick 4 goals and get dropped, right? So Ainsworth and Holman, they probably come in regardless. So who for? The sub was Cetas, so he's probably out of the 23. The other people are so obviously Tom Berry, which is unfortunate because I don't think he lasts this week. I think he's gone. Even though he played quite well with what he did, didn't score a goal. I think unfortunately he just goes because he's just first in, first out.
It's a bit ironic you can't pick a berry.
Right. So and then who is it? So Weller's obviously coming in. Now I know that he played obviously with Atkins the week before, with Weller in the squad and those other 3, but Roses wasn't. So if they bring all 3 in, someone's going. The likely scenario is it's him or Atkins is a sub. Now, do you really want to pay $200K for a guy that has the potential to be a sub? Like, I just don't.
No good.
He's not. He wasn't even best 22 in round 1 when they had 3 less defenders. So he's basically playing halfback wing. So they didn't have Lemons, they didn't have Powell, and they didn't have Weller in round 1 and 2, right? Yet he wasn't selected above Charlie Constable and all these guys. Like, so he's not in their minds. Didn't start the year as a best 22 player. Why all of a sudden is he just now best 22? That doesn't make sense to me. So he's got basically the same job security issues as Weddle, but he's 70K more expensive. They've got the similar cash potential in terms of making money. I don't know why you would take that risk. You just take again, unless the only thing is like, okay, he gets named this week alongside Weller, and you're like, okay, well, regardless of what happens, I need an on-field scorer, not someone on my bench. If he's going to be your bench guy, there's no point in picking him. If he's going to be your on-field D6 or whatever, then I get it. Like, okay, let's take that risk. Is he going to get you through the buys? If that is your reason for getting him, just throw that out. Throw it out. How many times have we bought in rookies because they're going to be good for the buys?
Yeah,
and then they get dropped in. They get dropped in round 12 and they're done. Like every single year, it happens where you bring in rookies and they're just not named anyway. So you have to carry a dead rookie through there. So yeah, I get the other thing is. So the other thing is, okay, so let's say you bring in Rory Atkins, he gets named this week, but then gets dropped next week. Okay, which is completely in the realm of possibility. Then you've made 50K. So you haven't made 120K, but it looks like you have because then next week you can downgrade him to another person. But that's just a waste of a trade. So again, it's not like for like. You just got to think of things again. Ben, you've had this experience before, have you?
Yeah, Clark was sub. I was like, well, you have to get on my side. I was like, how dare you? And then he was back best 22 the week after, and I was like, how dare you?
And don't get me wrong, Weddle has the opportunity to also be the sub. So there's no, I'm not saying that, they're not both, job security issues. I've said this a couple of weeks ago. Every single rookie you bring in now, every single guy under 200K is a sub issue. They're either a chance to be the sub or a chance to be subbed. That is just, unfortunately, this year in Supercoach. So try not to play them on field. The guys that are good, in terms of on-field scoring are generally the guys that started the year because they're seen as best 22 caliber players, not as sub opportunities. So
yeah, that really sucks. We talked about people getting subbed out and stalling Gen, but we didn't really cover, I guess, people that were sub, and then went up a little bit in cash because that also sucks.
This brings us to another one, I suppose. So Dill Williams, for example, right? So Dill Williams is someone we missed because he was the sub in his third game. We didn't know he was going to be the sub, obviously. He was just on an extended bench, wasn't named, and then he gets announced as the sub 5 minutes before kickoff. Yeah, an hour before kickoff. And you're like, well, even if you wanted to, I think it was even a late game. Like, wasn't it like a Saturday or Sunday game or something? Like,
I think it was the West Coast game off the top of my head.
Which was like Sunday afternoon or something stupid.
They're always Sunday.
No, it wasn't. That was actually an early game.
Oh, was it?
That was. Yeah, that was. But in saying that, he's come on as a sub and scored 37.
Which was actually more than like everybody else that week, though.
Yeah, it was. But it's still, you're looking at it and going, yeah, it's frustrating. But we were at the time going, well, have we really missed him? It's a 37 as a sub. How much confidence do you have in that going forward? And then you fast forward to the next week. Okay, he hasn't been dropped, but they are playing the Saints. Obviously, the Saints have been a bit up and about. And I was kind of surprised it was left in, but the on-field scoring at the same time, I think the first couple games he played, off the top of my head, it wasn't like they were.
It wasn't lights out.
Yeah,
It was serviceable.
lights out. It was serviceable. Serviceable if he had played like that round 3 game and been named and been like, okay, yeah, I'm happy to take this guy. Might get us 100K kind of thing. And I was talking about the idea that he's going to pick up dual position because he's listed as a forward and he's playing defence. But the last 2 games, and I watched him closely like this week, he looked just so good in defence.
He's getting kick-outs.
Yeah, kick-outs, taking intercept marks, doing everything. Like the 24 touches, 8 marks.
The thing is, though, he looks like he's been on the list for what? Is his 3rd year?
I think so, yeah.
And he looks like a veteran. He doesn't look like he's Corey Wagner style, like a little bit frantic on the ball when he gets it. You know what I mean? Like he looks really, really good. So my argument against Atkins is also like, okay, so if you just want to make cash, just get Dill Williams. He's had back-to-back 80 scores. His break-even's very similar. Yeah, if he goes another 80, he may another. Actually, I think their projected scores actually exactly the same, and their projected cash generation is almost exactly the same. Like they both look like if they hit 60s, they get about 45K. So
and
yes,
they
it's
play
more expensive.
North Melbourne this week, Richmond in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah. So you're like, well, 2 bottom 4 sides. Am I right?
Bottom 4 sides.
You can't disagree.
How's your? Hey, actually, credit to you for not biting yesterday. I was throwing every bit of shade towards Collingwood, and you didn't bite once. It was unreal.
I was actually.
There, is it catch up? I was like, oh.
Well, we get a bit feisty, the old Swizz and Chris Beef.
We watch each other's games. Especially when Dacos was copying it and I'm just sending everything Chris's way. Watch him
ended
run
when
to the
we won
bench
by
now.
6 goals, didn't it?
He's been bumped. Watch him run to the bench. Oh, Pendles is going to look after him. Oh no! Oh, here they come for him.
Did you hear that his brother went on like radio this morning or something and said, they're just elbowing him off the ball, 100 meters from the contest. And that's just not on. And I was like, come on, mate. Like older brother syndrome. Like, you seriously, that is going to get like put up on a billboard. Older brother doesn't like when they absolutely not helping the situation.
No, not at all.
Anybody else in the team, like a captain could have come out and say it, and it's like, supporting your teammate.
Yeah.
He just looks like he's just cuddling his little brother in the corner. Like, it's okay, buddy. I'll help
And
you.
he did. He was the first to run to him. He was like, oh, hey, they're picking on him.
It's like Step Brothers. He's like, oh, and then when my dad and I spoke about it, we can both bang. And he's like, hey, you don't say that. You don't do that.
You don't say that.
Hey, Swizz, very quickly before we move on, is that why Chris's nickname is now Gummy Bears? Because he refuses to bite for you. That was the insinuation I was giving, and you guys are both actually being literal. How dare you? Can we speak?
But on Williams, and you're right about the draw. So it's North, then Melbourne, Richmond, and Hawthorn. So he's got 4 really good games.
Well.
And his projected scores in there at 64, which makes him 12, 35, 89, 90K on those projections. But he's that's what we said. He's improving every week. So if
you need on-field scorer, gonna make cash. Like I'd rather go him.
Ridley down, make some money, double win.
Well, I mean, look, again, this is all circumstantial. My argument against Atkins is that I feel based on form, Dill Will's not going anywhere right now. Like I feel he's playing that good, and like I don't know. People can tell me otherwise, and that's fine. And there's obviously they've got other guys that can play halfback. They've got Sefs. I mean, equally they've got 10 halfbacks at Port, so he could be 1-2 games away from getting dropped. But it just from his role that he's playing and the way that I'm watching it, he's playing way better than I expected. So I would just say I'd rather have him for 30K more than jumping down to Atkins, where you just don't know what you're going to get next week. He could absolutely not be in the team. Now, the other thing is, so Long got an injury. Was it a corky?
Yes.
I think backside, kind of lower back.
Yeah, in the butt. So there's a chance that Long misses, and then they just keep Atkins anyway. There's a chance that Long misses, they bring in Constable, and they still drop Atkins. There's just the moving parts for Atkins. It's not for me. I understand other people's teams and that they like, but I've gone this year with the thing that's really held me in success is that I haven't taken many risks with rookies because I thought that going into the season, this would be an issue. So I've only traded out players that like needed to be traded. I haven't gone early on like trading in players. I haven't traded out guys like Ashcroft early or Jinby early. I've tried to hold on-field players that are, have really great job security as long as possible, and then trading out bench players because I knew that was going to be an issue. So some people have done that. Some people have just gone aggressive to get in premiums early. And yeah, it's kind of worked out in the end, but obviously the proof is in the pudding after the buys, right?
Well, Chris, where are you ranked at the moment?
I think you're slightly above me. I'm 1,100.
Yeah, because I was going to say that we're practically the same rank. And
Yeah.
you and I have gone the completely different strategy on that.
Yeah.
Where you've held, where I've been super aggressive, like, nah, this guy out of my team, rack off and that.
But the next
and we've
2
ended
weeks,
up in the
right?
same boat. So, yeah.
What's your cash gen looking like?
Oh, it's still actually all right.
Really? Okay, well, yeah. So I've got next 2 premiums locked in, and I've already got the cash for them. So that's,
I think I've got one. And that's probably it. But then I think I'm one ahead of you as it is. So I think we end up in the exact same spot anyway in 2 weeks as it is.
Nice.
And then Ben over there, just hide yourself in shame.
Is that why you flicked the mic up?
Yeah.
I think that was my other
when
half.
when Homer's trying to hide behind the pole and he's just
pretty sure that was my wife. She's like, is that why you haven't been recording? Because Ben's rankings just
I was about to say the bush is a great place to hide, and then you start talking about your wife. Because
wow.
Well, you talk about Homer Simpson. That's where he hides.
I'm allowed to make sexual innuendos in this podcast because I am the only one that is beveraging on my third.
Mate.
Hey, it's whiskey weather. What are you on about?
This lemon sip.
Okay, cool.
This lemon sip's where it's at right now.
Lemon sip's hitting different.
Speaking of another sub candidate, can we move on to Simpson? Not Simpson, bloody Nevitt. Nevitt.
Mitchell Nevitt, yes.
Yeah, because he's on. You were talking about Chris. One to watch.
Yeah, one to watch. He had 10% CBAs last week, which sort of flags as a potential role as a danger replacement. He won't get obviously super high CBAs, but let's say he's playing a lot of wing at the moment. Let's say he gets 30-40%. That could lead to a spike in scores. This week he posted 72. It was his third game because his first game was a sub. So he's already gone up 24K. But as a negative 25 break even with an opportunity to go higher, look, is he going to be one that is going to be absolutely stone cold locked into the 22? No one in Geelong pretty much is in that sort of 17 to 25 range. I don't think that's a thing. But he's cheap enough that you could probably take a flyer on him. What it has done is, I think, obviously, those who went on Sam Simpson, he's got a little bit of job security for the next few weeks, obviously. He could even maybe move up the ground a little bit. So there is a few moving parts to that Geelong team at the moment. I don't love Nevitt, but I don't hate him as an option. And I would rather Nevitt over Atkins for the simple prices. I think his job security is better for the initial period, the next 2-3 weeks. And he's cheaper, which also helps.
Yeah, so preseason, he was one that they were talking about would possibly get one of the wing roles.
Yes.
I can't remember who the other one was. It was Nevitt, and then I think it was Dempsey, maybe. It was probably the other one where they were talking about those two, which means it's not a shot out of the dark. It's not out of the blue. There's an opportunity, and then he comes into the team into a role which they spoke about preseason, which these are ones I probably favor more because at least you kind of go, okay, well, there was talk about this and now it's actually happening. So now there is a spot, now there is a role, and he's playing that role that they were talking about him possibly having in the preseason anyway.
Yeah.
So
got a little bit of Tom Atkins about it and the fact that he was their VFL Player of the Year last year, which is how Atkins had come into the squad. And I think that there's...
how every Geelong player comes into the squad.
Pretty much, yeah. So yeah, look, it's a chance, it's a shout, and look, he's one that we could be looking back in 6 or 7 weeks and go, that's the guy that got away from us. So just be aware of it. I don't think that I could probably do it because I think he probably again makes the same cash. Like if he makes 100 grand, great, but I think it's a little bit easier for Weddle to make 100 grand. I'm not sure.
Like, I don't mind it because I think this is Geelong trying their best to balance out their list management. And, the criticism is because of their age and what's their young guys coming through and stuff. So that's where obviously Simpson being fit, they're playing him. They've brought in those good of guys like, as we know, Tanner Bruin and a couple of those other ones in the off season. So is it another one here That they're like, okay, here's an opportunity to get games. He can be in our best 22. We really need our best sort of 15 firing. And then we just work around that with some of the younger guys and hope they just play their role. And most of them do come in and do play their role. So it wouldn't surprise me if he got an extended stint at it. And then they kind of just list manage their older players around it. Like they're going to win. They're into their mojo now. So it wouldn't surprise me. They go, okay, we've seen Danger's missing now, so Guthrie's back. Mitch Duncan's had a little bit of a rest because of the injury. Do they give Hawkins a week off, and they just keep rotating from there? So
I
that's
feared
definitely a possibility.
Hawkins' life. He was trying to chase Rankin, and he had zero gas in his hemis. I was like, how you see an older guy trying to like, hey, come back here, kid, like chasing him down the street. And
it was Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore.
He was working as hard as he could, and Rankin's just like, oh, mate.
I think that jacket's Mr. Gilmore.
Yeah. trying to reach the green from here, shooter.
So the other, with Danger as well. So he said it was minor, but then I was listening on SEN, and they were like, "Oh yeah, so last time he did a hammy, it was like 5 to 6 week recovery time, like because he's of the age, like not necessarily like a normal hammy is 2 to 3 weeks, but they're looking say 4 to 6 weeks because he's just older,
at least,
right?
Yep.
So this could be a real. And so the other thing is so Max Holmes. Yeah, is he the guy that gets the like big bump? Now, I know Holmes has played pretty well. He's had a decent amount of CBAs. Does he go like shoot to the moon at this time and then never get say 20-30%? Now that's going to be probably enough to catapult his average from a say 55-60 average to potential say 70 to 75 average. And then it's a really good cash gen option that has some decent on-field scoring options. A lot of people don't have any mid bench subs. So maybe it's just like, okay, maybe you could even sideways Roberts to Nevitt if you think that it's going to be able to get you through the buys, because again, he has that decent Rory Atkins buy, I like to say. But with this, so all the benefits that you can see from say a Rory Atkins, but at a cheaper price with better upside. Like, I don't know.
Talk about guys missing in the preseason that you're just going to plot along and make their 150K in that. Yeah, Max Holmes, because I got him in a couple of drafts, so I've been tracking him a lot. And then pretty well from like round 4, he's just absolutely destroyed it. Like as consistent as you can get, 115, 96, 98, 103, 102. And we actually talk about like premium midfielders this year. And every one of them are up and down. Like, what premium midfielders outside probably the top 3 or 4? That like somebody like Max Holmes.
So just want to say, when you want to talk, man, you just do this.
Yeah. Benny can wait.
I'm just yanking your chain. I've had a few drinks.
So off camera, it's like they were trying to do the old like wiggle. Was it like the wiggle?
But like, well, how you were sort of talking before about like I don't actually think you've gotten about Noah Anderson yet, but for this guy at 488. Could you recommend anybody going, well, Danger's out? Could Max Holmes be the guy that goes one? Like he's already going 100. These 5
Is that
rounds.
what his price is? 488.
He's 488. And
he's going to the moon for the next 6 weeks.
And I'm just trying to get up his 5-round average because I know it's good here. Where is it here?
I love a 3-week.
Yeah, 100 averaging 103. He's averaging 103 over the last 5, and that's why Danger's been playing.
But at 488, is he going to average you close enough to a keeper? I don't know, just 488. I was going to say Chris was talking about him getting a big bump, and if he gets a big bump, I'm sure someone will spend a couple of weeks on the sideline. Chris, they're really strict.
We call that the Ginnivan rule.
They're really strict on that these days.
Ginnivan got his head taken off twice again on the weekend. Now, one of them I think was absolutely a dive, but the other one was definitely not. And I was like, dude, it's just going to happen all over again. Just stop doing it. Like, classic.
I think it's more because one of the big discussions that we got to premiums is going to be Brayshaw. That's one. Would you have more faith in Brayshaw's consistency or Max Holmes' consistency right now?
Brayshaw upside.
No, I hate Brayshaw's upside. His fixture's absolutely
Yeah,
shot.
that's what I'm saying. Like, Ben, you probably will because your season's gone to shit. But for Chris and I, we'd be like, we're not touching
If
Brayshaw
you two go Holmes, you watch yourself. That'll be worse than Chris.
You know what it
Who
would?
did
We
you
would
bring
jump
in,
on
Chris?
him. We would seriously jump on him, and
It'd
he'd
be
go
Witherden.
120 for
That's
these
fine.
5 weeks.
You bring him in, and it'll be Witherden 2.0,
No,
but
it'll
worse.
be the complete opposite, and you'll be sitting there with Brayshaw, and Brayshaw goes like 90, and you'll be like, "What the fuck just happened?" And
Only-
like, can't believe you guys brought in someone like Max Holmes.
That's the shittest comment you've had this year, Swizz.
Witherden didn't go shit because other people came into the team and like his role lost. Witherden just went to shit because he is shit.
Shit, it's a different story.
Anyway, there's one more guy I want to talk about, guys. And I suppose I'll actually go to a couple of different things. First of all, what do we do if Wagner gets named? Are we taking Wagner over all of these guys? That's rough.
The worry
you
is the job security.
Yeah, but I mean, they all have job security issues.
They do.
So...
I know they do. Well, I'd nearly rather just go a week early on Blake Drury.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a good tie-in.
That's almost next tie-in. The other one is so there is obviously another one that's about the same price as Dill Will, which is Brody Kemp.
Yeah.
So he's gone 93.61.
That was the one I was about to bring in. I don't like it as much because he's playing defender role. Like that 93 skews it because he played West Coast. I think he's more your 50, 60 guy. I think his job security is good. It's pretty solid with the way Carlton are setting up. But
that's my point.
Yeah.
Is if you're spending money on a guy for job security purposes.
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't you okay, so for 30K.
But do I really want it? But do I really want to go at 250 who's just gonna be coming in and scoring 50s? May as well just keep the guy that I've got in there.
Again, I completely agree with you. I'm on board with your train, and this is why I think Atkins is just a waste of time.
I think Atkins actually has got the scoring's not the issue. The job security, I think it's the complete opposite to Kemp.
Real? So I mean,
I think Atkins can average 75.
Atkins go for round 1, 89.
Yeah.
Okay, so who were they playing in that round?
But Atkins has got the scoring history where he does this. Like he'll go 100, as Ben said, he goes 160. He'll go average 75 to 80.
I think that was in Adelaide when they were good too, by the way. The 160, that was when Adelaide were making a charge.
Yeah, the same. Well, I think
Suns are not making a charge unless...
Well, Adelaide making a charge every year of those 4 or 5 years he did it. Like, the guy scores out there. He's a poor man's pretty well Finn Callahan, but he is Finn Callahan. If half the game, they're going to put that ball through him on the wing.
And it took Finn Callahan how many rounds to make 100 grand?
9. Oh, 8 rounds in and charging.
8 rounds in,
and so how much? Yes, that's what I mean.
That was That was that injury game that Callahan really stuffed his scoring. Since then, he's back fit. He's going 75, which is what we say most wingmen do.
So Atkins went 89 against Richmond, who might leak the most defender points I've ever seen in the history of Supercoach, and then went 68 against Melbourne. So he does have a good run this week with West Coast, but then he has Brisbane, Bulldogs, Adelaide, Carlton next 4.
Why aren't you going Stewart then as a VC then, Chris? If Richmond, he did go big and then get suspended against Richmond last year, and they leaked the most points for defenders.
I'll give you a prediction right now.
Stewart, Friday night footy.
I'll tell you.
Geelong. So Richmond leaked the most points last year, right? Stewart went like 170 or 80 and he got suspended for knocking someone out or whatever it was.
I'll tell you exactly why.
What are you talking about Stewart for? I don't get it.
Your VC.
Oh, it's like his VC.
You said Richmond leaked the most points to defenders. Stewart plays Friday night against Richmond.
This week. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Let me know.
Ben, simple reason. Geelong will beat us by 10 goals. Stewart doesn't walk off the ground. Like payback is coming big time.
He'll get carried off the ground for getting 180 Supercoach.
It'll be like Collingwood Sydney. We're going to spend the entire day just roughing up Stewart.
Mate,
we're going to be banging goals, and there'll be 22 guys tackling Stewart still.
Swizz,
I think you're the only one with a vendetta, bro.
I tell you what, watch it. Watch it happen.
Swizz, it's not a good combination, right? Being bottom 4, right, and having no discipline and giving away 50s, it's not a good combination.
We've proven we don't have any discipline. We don't give a stuff. What should happen?
The season's over for Richmond.
Stewart actually might score, but because there'll be that many
Trent Cotch is going to retire while he's knocking
kicks
out.
awarded to him.
Richmond is my Supercoach season, right? They're cooked. They're done. Yeah, so that's a really interesting. Now Wagner was the interesting one because he replaced, I think it was Wilson, and Wilson was like, no, well, he got sent back to Waffle to get some form, and then literally he had about 24, 25 touches, was really influential and was better than some of the other people that were actually coming back in that team. So, yeah, there's definitely no real shake there. I'd probably rather go Drury as well. Drury was out, but look, he was on about 40 at halftime and only finished on about a 52. So he definitely did tail off. Boys, where the Drury train?
I'm a hard no, but the only
this
reason
week
is,
or in total?
No, I'm a hard yes moving forward, but for this week, no. But it's more about what do we do next week. So again, people just jumped early, say on Chincotta. This is the problem, right? Jumped early on Chincotta, then like had to bring in some shitty rookie last week. Like Simpson's going to be okay, and I think that's going to be all right. But what if they went? What were the other rookies last week? So they might have got Teakle in. Teakle absolutely shut the bed. So anyone that went Teakle, obviously 200K rookie, yay! He's got a opportunity to go awesome.
Grundy
20.
options, yay!
Yeah, like terrible. Like this is what's going to happen, right? So this week it's. All right, well, I will go early on Drury because I don't really like Weddle. All right, cool. So next week, Tom Berry's likely not going to play. I think he's out. So who do you have outside of Drury?
No one.
Most traded in player so far is Drury by a long way too.
Have you ever heard of a guy called Daniel Turner?
I feel like I looked at him last year after a game and I was just looking at him and it was like, and then he didn't play again.
He played last week for Melbourne, and he was a 123K defender.
Yeah, I'm sure he played last year. I'm sure we had this conversation about Daniel Turner last year.
Harry Sharp played. Actually, I didn't mind Sharp's game, to be fair, but he only scored 40. Yeah, doesn't have a good scoring history. No. Terrible 123K. The one that again you could look at, Cooper Sharman went 92.
Yeah, no, Turner scored 26, and we just crossed him off the list.
The Sharmanator.
The Sharmanator. He's actually gone back in time to change the Supercoach foursomes for one lucky lady.
It could be your wife, Swizz.
What?
Every week.
Why is she getting a drive
every week?
No, hang on. That was a compliment. You said go back and change Supercoach. So as I was saying that he could help her Supercoach team. That wasn't me being sexual or devious. I was saying.
I know. It was just
like Cooper Sharma, great. He's got the 92. The problem was it was North Melbourne. Right. So let's just have a look. Wait.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I'm saying is, great. You go early on Drury. You upgrade this week. What are you doing next week?
Yeah, exactly.
So Chris, that does
completely ruins your upgrade cadence.
Yeah, and once you do it, you have to keep doing it in order to keep the cadence going. So what Chris is saying...
And then what happens is you get to the buys and you're like, fuck, I'm literally going on 0 game players now. I'm bringing in 0 game players. That's what I'm doing.
Have some patience. Don't have a medical condition because otherwise you're always going to have to go early.
I love it.
It's true though, but once you go, like if you went Chincotta and then
works for Pilot and for Ben, I like it.
But if you bring in a rookie early, then the next week it's like, oh, there's no options, and then you have to go early again, and then it's this bad chain reaction.
It's a problem that creates a problem that creates a problem that creates a problem.
Then you're just playing roulette after roulette after roulette, like spin the wheel.
Same thing with blowing your bank account on one individual player. So you can bring in the guy at 700K.
Cheers. I got rid of Goulden to get Clary. Cheers.
Yeah. And then down the track, it's going to pay you back because eventually you're going to run out of money and be like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have done that after 3 weeks beforehand.
See, I did it for Setterfield, and he's been awful since he's been out of my side.
So sometimes it's a good thing, but his role's been cooked.
I know.
Like
the moment I traded him, it was like Scott's gone. Oh, Swizz doesn't have him in the team anymore. Let's cook this guy's role.
Do you want to take a stab at what his percentage was in CBAs this week?
0.
No way.
Yeah, 0. Yeah.
Oh,
I told you. It's
how
because
insulting.
I rang Brad and said, mate, he's not in my team. You don't need to play him in the guts anymore.
So you rang Brad. Yeah. You didn't send him an email like Ben would do. You actually rang him. That's a direct line.
He's a modern kind of guy.
I'm old school. I went on the old dial up and was like, now let's have a chat, Mr. Scott.
It's fucking hilarious.
So is that because Stringer's now getting some CBA or like Hobbs in? Like what is it?
Yeah, so Stringer and Hobbs. So Stringer's getting very high CBAs.
Sounds
and
like
then
the
Hobbs
Fast and the
come in.
Furious knockoff, Stringer and Hobbs.
But the other thing was, so last week Merritt got like 30% CBAs, and then this week Merritt was through the roof.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the fuck that was. I honestly don't know.
It's matchup related for and that, so which is kind of strange, but yeah, Parrish, Merritt, Stringer, they were all the huge.
Shout out.
Merritt was
shout out in
actually
the chat,
amazing
by the
this
way.
week.
Shout out in the chat. They gave me no love for
The
that
3
comment.
quarters.
Yeah, agreed.
Fast
all right.
and Furious. You guys are absolute shit.
Doesn't matter if you win by inch or a mile, mate.
That's right.
No, don't worry.
So look, I suppose we move on, but
Premiums,
I suppose so. My opinion is not going early on Drury at all. There's probably like 2% chance that it works for your team when
some people went last week on him. Crazy.
Well, it was the same with Chincotta. Some people went in these first week.
Obviously,
without him playing. Now it's worked out, but as you said,
both of those guys, the reason is in those situations, I would argue that it's probably price related, right? So people want to go early because they're obviously a 102K rookie, and it may be able to get them to say a Clary or like that next level up that they wanted to get to that they just couldn't get to because they had no cash in their bank. So they haven't planned ahead. They've had to go early to make sure they have enough money to get to that point. Their team's going to get to the point where they're going to hit a wall in the next couple of weeks.
Desperate.
And I suppose this is probably where we sort of migrate to their premiums, which is where I should probably lead off and go. So the first person that I was looking at bringing in this week was Clary, and I was pretty confident on that's the guy that I want. For 650K, he's bottomed out, like literally, like he's had 2 back-to-back 130s and leveled out his break even. Now it's back down to 100. But do I go to 650 Clary, or there's 3 or 4 options at 520, 530K that are pretty good, that are probably only going to average maybe 10, 15 points less, that I can bring in this week and then still get Clary moving on down the line, but it means that I'm still keeping my upgrade cadence over the next few weeks as opposed to blowing my bank. And the other thing is, who are you trading out of your team to get Clary? So Clary is 650K. How much money do you have? Now, if you're trading out Ashcroft, for example, understand that Ashcroft can be traded out. However, he's probably worth hanging on your field at least one more week, because then you're not fielding Wilmot or you're not fielding, another really shitty rookie for another week. I know that obviously Ashcroft only gave us a 37, so there's here or there, but we expect a 75-80 average out of Ashcroft. And then you're at least gaining 20, 30 points. So whoever you're bringing in, let's say for this week only, just think about this week. If that person gets 100 and Clary goes 120, you're probably still ahead points on field. Ben?
The other thing to note is even if you went Ashcroft down to like a Drury, you're making, what is it, to 260, 270,000. So you still need someone that's like 400,000 close to, and there's not many of those in our team unless you're going to trade out, and that's the situation. Go, Hopper.
Early,
so it's like, hey, Hopper out and Ashcroft out. Next minute, Ashcroft goes 100, Hopper goes 100, and then you play Clary and a rookie.
Because some people have gone, say, Chandler down, and they've got some cash in the bank, and they're going, okay, I'm going to use that cash plus Ashcroft to go up.
Chandler and Ashcroft up, I don't mind as much.
My only issue with that is
2 guys on field,
because I've looked at sort of
if
Chandler.
You've got someone.
But then Chandler's playing Hawthorn this week. It just...
No, I would not be trading Chandler at all.
Like, his break-even's 42. He's I don't even think he's looked like getting close to, like, that low. Yeah, so, because people go, okay, he had the 57, but he's gone above that break-even every week. So, I wouldn't... And I know I've got it here. Chandler's the 4th most traded out player this week.
Ooh.
So far, so.
That's crazy. So... Obviously, it was a close game for Gold Coast. And Gold Coast, to their credit, they're not pushovers anymore.
No. Like
they don't get me wrong. I think that the way that they play the game is shit, and I hate watching it. I feel like it was like
West Coast 5 years ago, just kicking. That's it.
I hate watching them play. They control the ball and they set up at stoppage, and then they control the ball and they set up. It's so fucking boring. Like, I hate watching it. But what it does do is it restricts opposition scoring, and therefore they're actually always in the game. And that's kind of where they're at. They're like, we're not good enough to beat teams outright, but we are good enough to sort of be in the game until the last quarter, and then hopefully we can spike a score.
If you didn't watch North and Saints, that was a bad game.
Yeah,
sorry, Swizz.
I was gonna add to Chris's comment there. That's the reason they do that is they've got one of the most dominant ruckmen in the league. and they've got the former number 1 pick, Matty Rowell, who's just an absolute clearance and contested beast.
Yeah.
So that's the game plan for, and usually they have Took in there as well. So yeah, it suits them because we've talked about the high percentages that those 3, when Tuka is in there, get around the ball. So yeah, kick the ball out, get your dominant ruckman to hit down to one of those 3, kick it forward, and get another contest. So as you said, it's crap footy, but it works. So that's and they'll probably in a way unlucky not to win that game as well. So, or at least draw it.
I mean, Chandler still has Freo as well in 2 weeks.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be trading Chandler. Unless, that's the only thing, unless you are getting Clary and you're like, yeah, this is the only way I can get him in.
He could have forced your hand next week, obviously, Chandler.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a low enough break even that it doesn't matter this week, but he could force your hand next week. So his break even's 42. Obviously, he's going to make that. There's SC is rating it at a 97% chance. So if he pumps out another 55, though, you just cut him. That's fair enough, but I wouldn't be writing off the potential of, say, an 80 to 100 score, another spike in cash gen, then you pick up another 30K from him. Plus, obviously on field. Now, most people have 3 to 4 rookies on field still this week. Ben, as someone who has a shit team, are you still in the same boat or?
Yeah.
Swizz, you on? Swizz?
No, I think I've got 4.
So good.
Oh, it's okay. It's fine. I'm ranked 5,000.
I just want to know what it's like on the other side.
Yeah. No, my rank's 5K, but my rank will
I better
slide.
change my sort because I've got it by the top 1%. So hang on, 5K. Well,
if Ridley was in
elite,
Ashcroft, we're counting as a rookie. Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
4 rookies on field.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't count. I'm not counting Sheasel, so it's 4.
No, so I'm 3 this week. So
yeah, but I haven't done my trades yet. So
no, after trades. Yeah.
Okay.
After
so
trades,
I'm 4 at the moment.
Yep. Yeah. So so that all makes sense. So who you're trading out has to. I always try and say, and this is a rule of thumb with Supercoach. So for those that are new to Supercoach or even experienced players that have forgotten this rule, please understand the best people to trade out are the people that are not on your field because you want to keep your on-field scores as long as possible. The new guys that come in are likely not going to replace the scoring that they're going to, that the guys you're trading out are outputting. So either you upgrade the guys on field and then downgrade off your field, or it gets to the point where really late in the upgrade cycle where you just sort of take a punt and you can loophole those guys on your bench and hopefully spike a score.
Yeah, the way around that sometimes as well is that you might have an early loophole in the week. And let's just say Baker was playing early, he goes big.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, I was going to get rid of this other guy next week, but with Baker's big score, I'm like, sweet, I can just get rid of this guy this week and then play Baker's score for this week, and then I'll get rid of someone else next week. So that's the only time you'd actually bring it forward is if the guy on field and you're like, oh, I'll play him this week and then I'll try and upgrade him next week. And then if you have a really good bench score, you might actually just flip it and then go them early and then the other person the week after.
Yeah, and that's where you're saying, because for me, for example, it's like one of the ones I'm looking at is what's your guy, Wilmot down and then Ashcroft up. So Wilmot's not on my field anyway, so that doesn't really mean anything. It's just cash gen restarting, and then that guy Ashcroft actually becomes a premium, and then I'm like you, Chris, with only the 3 on. So yeah.
Yep, and I mean the only problem with this week doing that is that the loopholes are fucked.
They're all early.
All the guys you want to try and loophole, you probably want to play on field. They don't work out. There's not really much you can do in terms of loopholing this week, unfortunately. But in a normal situation, absolutely, I would recommend that. And then it gives you, it almost forces your hand in terms of trade situations. But yeah, definitely worth considering.
That's actually why it's probably going to be Wilmot instead of JVR for me, potentially. And I'll just hold JVR for one more week.
He's out for 2.
Yeah, I know. But I'm going to trade him anyway. But Wilmot, is the guy that was going to go off my bench as it was. So just to have that loophole option.
Yeah, can we go premiums, boys?
Just for purely, yes, we can. Yes. I suppose we get into that because we've been in. This has been a great chat, by the way.
It has been. I do rate it. I was thinking for premiums, we could even just go, each line and just go who are our top 2 trade-in targets for each line. Might be probably the way to go, and then some favorable mentions could be the one. Yep. So even defensive line, I mean, I might start. I'm a huge advocate of Sinclair. Now I know he hasn't.
Do you guys think it's funny when your partner's trying to record a TikTok, but you just sort of look over and?
Do you want to?
You are totally recording a TikTok right now, aren't you?
Do we want to shout her account? Let's have a watch at this.
Yeah, she's. What's your username on TikTok, babe? It's at. No, she likes the old TikTok. She's very good at it too. She gets in there.
I think I found it.
Thanks, babe. No, she used to do like singing and stuff on there. Now she just does. Miming voice recording.
Grimo on the chat's talking about Bartel now with a break even of 54,133. Okay.
Nice. Sorry, guys, completely sidetracked us for 30 seconds there, but I just saw something that was hilarious. I had to let the people know. Baby, can you get me some more drinks?
Yes. All right, so you get us back on there. So you want top 2 for each line.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to be an advocate for Sinclair. Now he's 544K. I've been watching him for a little bit. I still think there's a little bit of room to grow. So averaging 100.9, he's averaging 104.3 over the last 3, 103 over the last 5. And I honestly just think he's really consistent. Now, I know we ragged on him heavily in the preseason, but I think he's kind of gone ahead of a few other people around that top 6 mark. And at 540K with a break even, it's still a decent break even of, I think it's about 100, isn't it? Where is his break even?
Yeah, it's right on that.
Yeah, so break even is 100. So I just think he's a serviceable option where they have a first buy though. So that's the only consideration is that 3 weeks and then a buy is the consideration. So, but for me, I quite like Sinclair as an option.
So, Sinclair, I pressed the button last week that I loved, saying Sinclair has gone back behind the ball, was still coming in. This week he had 63% CBAs. So he actually went down last week to 26. So he was trending around 40%, and he shot up to 63%. Like, what the fuck happened this week?
Yeah, he was around, and you know what? There was so many opportunities, even late in the game, where they had him like in space and could have used him, and then actually went the longer option. Probably because I was thinking, it's North, we're winning, we'll hit the longer target. So that he could have easily gone 120, 130, and you'd think in a normal game they would be actually trying to hit up the shorter option. So I don't even know.
It wasn't a normal game, and I suppose that's the thing.
And that's probably the thing, because it wasn't, and it was just such a defensive game. He was like, well, the only way I'm going to touch the ball is by getting around the around the pill, around the contest here, because it was just not going down North Melbourne's forward line.
Speaking of an unusual game, Chris, is that Steele actually played a lot forward, which was I know obviously he's not a defender, but it is linked with the same team and the role that Sinclair had. People were infuriated. He was playing a lot forward, a lot, came through with a low score, but actually broke and performed well enough to get, was it a 95 or something late in that game?
Yeah, but he still had an 81% CBA, so he was in there and then just moved forward after.
So that's what was people having. Steele was, so they're both they're probably in the bounce, but Steele was pushing forward. Sinclair's was sort of a kick behind the play, or half a kick. And that was just the way the game was being played, because they were just trouncing them. Even though they weren't trouncing them on the scoreboard, it was just one-way traffic.
And I will mention this because this is going to relate to Steele as well, and a few other picks that people are looking for in terms of premium options. But essentially the game was a kick-to-kick from North Melbourne. So they were trying to control the ball hardcore behind the football, just realising that St Kilda obviously how they slingshot the ball, and their forwards aren't strong. So their whole point was, we're going to control the ball, chip it around, and they go long to the contest, reset, chip it around, long to a contest. That they tried to score from trying to expose the St Kilda defense and I just found that insanely weird, because no one's been able to do it at all this year, yet they just kept going. Like, bomb it long to Callum Wilkie, that'll work. Like, it just made no sense to me, but that's what they tried to do, and they executed a game plan. They just came up 5 goals short.
One of the worst games. You feel for a North supporter if you'd gone to the VFLW first and then onto the AFL and seen your team kick no goals in 6 quarters of footy, or your club, because I think they went goalless and still won. And then the seniors, they were goalless at halftime. It was just, I don't know what North Melbourne, all the coaches got together this week and said, we're just not going to try to kick a goal. That's the game plan. We're just going to chip it around, play keepings off. Half back to centre. Centre holds it.
Right. So, I mean, it was, a strange game. I'll bring up the Ruck contest stats, but I mean, the thing with, there was no mids pretty much that scored anywhere decent in that game. So, Jack Steele was shit. LDU was, don't even. Who else was shit? So, Sinclair, even though he played mid, obviously only scored 99. So, there wasn't very much mid scoring in this game. And so, do we take out of that it's because of X, Y, and Z potentially? I'm not really sure what to read from that game. I don't know if you can read anything. So do we throw that game out in terms of, okay, well, obviously, is Zeeble going to be going 179? That's he's not averaging 150 plus, right? So throw that score
I think
out.
he's averaging over 90 for the year, though, Chris.
He definitely is. Pay him out early, I say.
Yes, he was the one we've been big on all year, and still his percentage ownership's very low. Like, I love owning Jay-Z. If you've moved on from Sinclair.
Yeah, I was just going to say my
other
option I can't really toss up between, but because on the break even, I'm going to say Doherty. As far as a price point of view, 509K going back-to-back hundreds. Is the Dockman back? And it's a big question mark. I know that. But the other one I was going to look at is Sicily, but obviously his really poor score on the weekend means that you could pick him up under 500K or close to in the next couple of weeks.
No, so, okay, my two...
Doc.
Because I'm just keeping off Doc. I really like the Seagull, Jake Lloyd. I think he's back in a big time this year, and he's still only at 530K. Outside of that Geelong game where he's gone 77, he's gone 93, above 93 every week, and that includes 6 tons. So he's just, back playing that role, back pocket kickouts. It's really hard to ignore the Seagull.
Damo from Jock Reynolds was onto it. Jock Reynolds, remember? Defenders had him in the top 10, and we all like, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
So just to go back on my point, guys, I've just done the stats. There was 59 hitouts in that game, which AFL average is like, in terms of ruck contests, the AFL average is about 20 points higher minimum. It's usually about, and usually about 90 is the average. So a high game would usually be about 100, and a low game would usually be about 80. That's insane. So that's how low that single game was because of the controlled football that North Melbourne kept playing. There just wasn't enough contest for mids to actually get in, get clearances, and get scores. And that's why, like, I was initially rage trading LDU, and then I looked into it and I was like, yeah, probably not. I think that's not a reflection of what he's able to do, but how do we know what he's able to do at this point? He's absolutely killed me for the last 3 weeks, and I hate him. But I digress. So you can't really read too much. So someone like Steele who got a 95, that's actually not too bad. Like, I'll take a 95, like, whatever. Next week, what does he do? What's the average for the rest of the season? That's the key component of, say, a Jack Steele trade-in.
So Lloydie, 531K, only owned by 7% Swizz. Not a bad shake. Do you reckon, so you'd take him over Doherty for 20K more at this point?
Like, I really like Doc. So if I had 3 Docs in that 3, like, outside of the obvious ones where, Dawson
for sure.
and people that we're looking at. But
Dawson,
if you value...
Dawson, Dacos, and Stewart are must-haves, and then everyone else is kind of like...
Yeah, so I think Lloyd's probably number 1 value just because sort of the way the Swans are playing, and it's just all through back him again. Doherty too. And the other one, which Chris was actually mentioned pre-season, which is Dan Houston from Port Adelaide.
Are you paying me some love there, buddy?
I am there, mate. I am. And that's remembering what you said there, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, so he had a couple
He's
poor
averaging
scores
more than Sicily right now. Did you know that?
Yeah, he is. A couple poor scores to start the season, but he actually gave away some free kicks and maybe even a 50 in one of those games as well, which did bring it could have been the Pies game with 72 down, but then since then, the Swans 77, I think again might have been involved with at least a couple of frees, which stuffed his score. But yeah, 110, 123, 93, 110, 122. Like, he's just getting the job done. Owned by nobody. Like, that's as serious of a pod as you can get.
1%.
But the thing he is that little bit more expensive. That's why I'd have him ranked before, after Lloyd and Doherty. So Lloyd, Doherty, and then Houston for value.
You know what's crazy, guys? Luke Ryan's still 580K.
I know.
He's posted 109, but he's in 20.5% of teams, guys. I can't believe that stat. There's no one watched AFL for the last 3 years. Luke Ryan does this. Half a year, he goes amazing. Half a year, he pumps out 50s. You're in for a bad time. He's already flagged that he's got back issues. Oh my gosh. I couldn't imagine anything worse than bringing in Luke Ryan and riding that train for the rest of the season. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I wouldn't bring him in if you started him. Well done. Because he's like as we said with English or any of those guys, start them and then if they get injured, you're not burning the two trades. So
I think he was like 2% owned at the start of the year. Though. Like,
and you just, I know. And everybody was I think it was when Doc went down, a few jumped on him and went from there. So I'm just having a look.
Interesting.
What do we think about Will Powell? Obviously fake primo, right? Can we just say that out loud?
Yeah.
He was getting some kickouts, so I think he got about 60 to 70% of those kickouts.
So he was getting 30% kickouts before Weller got injured. Yep. And that's the key. So Weller goes down.
Oh, I got him in draft league or whatever. Yeah, go for that.
Yeah, so did I. Sure. I got him in a draft, yeah. But you're not
how did draft go this week, Chris?
I don't want to talk about it.
I'm bound to win something.
I have LDU.
I beat him too this week.
Actually, yeah, we'll just talk about pods. So I've got up the top 1% of ownership.
Yeah.
Houston's owned by 2 people in the top 1%.
Wow.
That's nice.
Pretty good.
And also with the draw that they have coming up, North, Melbourne, Richmond, Hawks. Like I know against poor forwards or whatever, there might not be as many forward entries, but Dawson is someone who can. Houston is someone who can actually damage you forward of centre as well. Ask the Brisbane Lions for maybe not round 1 because it was so fresh and everyone's really set in their ways on structure. But Houston can damage you. So I don't mind that.
And as I said, I think he gave away 2 frees and a 50 maybe in that Brisbane game. It was either Brisbane or Collingwood, but definitely gave up some points in that. So as you said, North Melbourne, Richmond, Hawthorn. But all of these also come down to your buy structure.
I was about to say that's worst buy.
And that's where, yes, but it's worse by maybe more for forwards. It depends on your defenders and how you set up there. So I guess that's why I've been everyone's asking about recommendations. Like, okay, but how many do you already have for your buy structure?
Go, Chris.
Who averages more for the rest of the season, Will Day or James Sicily?
Sicily?
Yeah, Sicily.
Well, that's not true right now.
No, but as the season goes on, I still think Sicily's going to have a couple games where it's just going to go big.
I'll tell you why not.
You tell us, Christopher.
I'll tell you why not, because I know
Redemption.
everything.
Have another drink and then you tell me.
Pineapple.
I should. Absolutely.
Redemption.
I will have another drink. Thank you very much.
Redemption.
I'll have another lim sip.
Redemption, Chris. Sicily more than Day for the rest of the year.
No. I'll do it.
Redemption.
From now on, yep, I will.
Yep. But they can't be, because I have to do this because Swizz, the dickhead, put me online last time. If either of them is a sub, that game doesn't count.
That's Will Day and James. They're not being the sub, man. That's their best mid and their best defender.
Right.
No, but that covers injury. That covers injury.
Oh, okay.
But Chad Wingard, I thought was best 22, and he was sub.
see, the thing is with Hawthorn, man, they still have a game against West Coast. They still have a game against North. They still have a game against Freo. They're still, they've still got these games where you can get big spike scores from mids. So I'm fine with that. Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Done.
Yeah, on that quickly, round 15.
Well, Swizz, did you want to replace me for
defenders? Dawson, Dacos, Sinclair, Days, Sicily, all of them are playing.
Yeah,
round 15, and Stewart. So you could Houston's actually not a bad person to bring in because we don't have any round 15 defenders.
However, the round 14 ones, so the guys that teams that have good players, are Stewart. Isn't it Stewart? Dacos,
no, Stewart's by himself.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's on his own.
It's
Dacos, Dawson,
Day, Sicily, and
all them.
And
that's what I was saying. Is Houston a better option than those guys because he's got the defender by himself?
But is Houston round 15? He is, isn't he?
He's round 15.
No, because most people, like say for example me, I have 8 already in that. So taking it as a whole team perspective, with the amount of DPPs that are in teams these days, like I can shift, she's all back.
And then that's where it gets the debate there.
Obviously, Sheasel has that buy as well.
Yeah.
So
Jake Lloyd at round 12 of us there.
Yeah. So there becomes an opportunity because someone like us, that's why Sinclair is so clear ahead of, in my opinion, ahead of even Sicily. So if I bring in Sicily right now, I've got then 4, round 14 buy players. Like, why would I do that? Bringing in Sinclair, where I've only got, I think he's the only one in that round 12 bye. So you could look at even upgrading to him after that if you like, or get him now. Like St Kilda are about to go on this stupid stretch of ridiculous games.
Yeah, they are.
So yeah, like I would definitely be getting on a St Kilda players at this point. But I think that covers defenders, right?
Yeah,
Let's go mids.
midfield. Yep.
So this is probably where it gets interesting because I think everyone's looking for a mid upgrade, right? Like most people have just done with their defender and forward. Like they have deep forwards. People looking at mids. Is that pretty much where you guys are at in your teams?
Yep.
Yeah,
Or a lot of
100%.
people have DPP in their midfield waiting to kind of upgrade that mid spot.
I could probably bring in one defender. Yeah, it all depends where I want to put Zeeble and Sheasel. I've got one more spot in there if I want to, but yeah, definitely midfielders is where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, when M3 is Jordan Dawson and M4 is Tim Taranto, everyone's in a good spot.
Yeah. It legitimately is. Like,
yeah, legitimately. So you want to talk about Noah Anderson, buddy? I'll let you have the floor, and then I'll tell you. Like you've kind of thrown him up, but I think maybe logic is coming back to the fold, right? Like, what do you think about Noah Anderson?
Oh no, I thought he was the guy to get last week if you're going to, but I still preferred the defenders and that. The reasoning hasn't changed. I know I've sort of had this little argument with a couple of people in the Richmond forum. One person, as we all know, and he's it's about how does that go with Tuke back into the side. It's where it's at for me.
Well, I can tell you what the numbers say. It's 98 average with Tuke and 166 without.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
come on now. Back end of last year, he averaged 110 for the back half of the year. I think there is some scope for Anderson.
There was definitely
last year. Sweet.
I think there's the problem is because some of these premium midfielders aren't actually traveling that well.
Yeah.
Now, if you'd picked him at 550, I thought, last week not a problem, and I still thought Sinclair and that was the better options to go with, trying to shore up those sort of your defense. But if you'd got him, that was the time to get him. Now, shocked by everybody, he's gone the 189, but I still thought he could have gone, say, maybe 120 last week, and then you would have got that cash jet. I know a couple of people brought him in. One person, my mate Pete, actually had him the vice captain, which was well done. So yeah, he's made the 50K for you last week. He'll make another 50K this week. So you've probably got 130, 140K out of somebody on top of the fact that you're getting scoring points. This week now, I don't think what a few people are like, oh, it's chasing points. No, I don't believe it's that. But at the same time is, are you bringing him in with the view that you're going to trade him out? And then why would you bring a premium in with the view to trade him out? Like, it's just not how we go. Not at 605K. And I think he might be the best midfield scorer over still the next 3-4 weeks. That I've got no problem with that, but it's the regression after that. And that's where the problem is. So if you were stacked up and actually, the way I usually word this when I'm doing my team pods or the Q&As is, if you are ranked 50,000, 60,000, whatever, he's an absolute pod. Jump on, because they're the risks that you've got to do to catch up to us, who are higher ranked. So I think that's in that situation.
So Ben, he's talking to you, I think specifically.
Yeah. So if Ben, just be listening to this. But if you're more higher ranked, and I usually say if you're in sort of that 10,000 spot, then you're not going to take risks like this. You're going to more stay with the pack. So
sorry for the drive by there, mate.
I love you guys though. I do.
But that's where it is. Like, guys who are up the top don't need to take these sort of risks. If you do and it pays off, well done. But if you're further back, then that's somebody that you can, like, he's got the perfect buy. And if for whatever reasons the Suns turn around and say, no, Tuke's not coming back to round 15, 16, 17, you get absolutely kissed on the dick and you're looking fantastic. But we expect to, well, Chris and I were talking about it off air. Even though Tuke's probably listed for a couple of weeks, they've got a couple of Northern Territory games coming up. So I would think they're probably bringing him back after the bye. So you've probably got 3 or 4 weeks of Anderson going maybe 120, and then does it regress again?
Their draw's not the easiest either. It kind of goes it alternates, like an easier one, harder one, easier one, harder one. It kind of does that for the rest of the year.
The Atkins of draws.
I didn't realize how easy the Saints draw was, Chris. Like,
it's ridiculous.
Stupidly good.
And they've still got double up games against like bunny sides. Like, it's ridiculous.
I honestly, Essendon's back half of the season is really soft. And maybe because I didn't really rate Saints going into this year, but Adelaide Giants, Hawks, it's like, okay, Sydney's going to be more difficult, but they haven't been that great. Richmond, easier. Lions, difficult. Then you've got Eagles, Melbourne, so a little bit of a tit for tat. Suns, North, Hawks, easy. Carlton, a bit harder. Richmond, Geelong, so a bit of a tit for tat for there, and Lions to finish. So it's a good run.
Yeah. So
the thing with Carlton, though, is that they're just giving up points to Miz that they didn't give up last year. Like last year, Carlton were hard to score against.
Yeah,
this
they're
year,
all
anyone
offense.
that's matching up against Cripps, just fucking VC them because he is leaking points like I've never seen. Like Brownlow medalists forgot how to defend. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's so Ben Anderson's not in my top 3 options there either,
Okay.
and that I just was happy. I think he needed to be talked about because a lot of people are looking at jumping on him. Now,
600K prices him out a little bit for me.
Do you know what? Even at the price, because they're nearly the similar price, I prefer Sam Walsh. Like nobody's owning Sam Walsh, and he's coming back from injury, and he's gone over 100 every week.
Just to add on what Chris was saying, I wonder if Cripps can he still hear me?
No, he's gone.
Is this like a real life ghosting where you just don't reply? I actually wonder whether Cripps comes off the ground and he's there like, oh hey, I had a great day, like as in focuses on what he did. He's like, oh hey everyone, I had 28 touches, I had like contested ball, that's what I'm known for. I had a pretty good day, and then someone's like, yeah, but your opponent had 35 touches, 4 score, like 10 score assists, 4 shots on goal, and it's like, oh yeah, so I thought I had a good day, which would be interesting. So
on that, he's
Anderson's not in your top 3.
Not in my top 3.
Okay, so who do you have in your top 3 then? 1, 2, 3.
Well, I guess it's hard because are we going a little bit more value or not? If we're not going value,
if the value is outweighing the price,
yeah.
So I think Clary.
Well, maybe because Chris will talk about the value guys, so I'll talk about the sort of the non-value guys. Petrarca, 624.
Ooh, where's he? 1, 2, or 3?
Sorry,
1, 2, or 3.
I think
number 1.
Yeah.
What?
If you're not going value and you've got the money there and that. Like, I'm gathering everyone's got Clary, or like most people own Clary. So I'm taking him out of the equation.
But they've just played West Coast, Essendon, Richmond, North, Gold Coast. I don't know how you can pick Petrarca as number 1. Anyway, that's just me.
I think they're just going to keep freaking flying. Like, he's one of the best players in the comp.
Number 1 midfielder, Chris, you missed it. He said Petrarca's number 1 midfielder.
No, I could hear him. I just, I was laughing in the toilet.
I'm not. Well, are we including guys like Oliver and Bont and Laird and that, or are you still including?
Well, I think we're going a little bit more outside that scope. So guaranteed, if you don't have Clary, you want Clary. If you don't have Laird, I can see value in bringing in a Laird at some point.
Yeah. So I'm leaving them alone. So that's why.
So where's Walsh then? Walsh would be in your mix then?
Walsh is number 2.
And number 3?
Number 3, it's wait a week or 2 or even after the bye, but Lockie Neal.
Oh, okay, I like that.
And he would be number 1.
Bring him in until round 13.
Yeah, that's right. He'd be number 1 if you could bring him in now, but he's just 1.
The reason why I didn't start Neal was they played, what was it, like 5, or no, I think 6 out of their first 15 or 16 were away games.
Yeah.
And then they played 9 out of the whatever's, they play a lot more home. No, not 5. They play, I think, 6 out of the last 9 or something coming home. So they play a lot of home games coming up. And yeah, for me, I think, Lockie Neal in home games, particularly against weaker sides, I think could be a good shake. So he's one I'm looking to bring in.
I really like Parish and Merritt on that list too, because that Bombers draw is, they've got to play North and West Coast twice, and they've still got to play us. So yeah, that's, but for consistency, Petrarca and Walsh, they just ton up for fun.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, Walsh, I like probably more than Petrarca because I think they've had their bunny run already.
I don't think does it really matter for Melbourne, bud?
They're but for Petrarca, because
but he's shown that he can smash out massive
50s?
Scores against good
smash out 50s,
good teams.
60s.
Yeah, but he can smash out 150s.
Yeah, are you going for league or overall though?
Well, if you're going for overall, it averages out all in the end.
I don't know, Chris. Where do you stand? Because I think it's criminal to pay $624K for Petrarca.
I won't be. I mean,
that's a lot.
No way. There's no way. He put on a stint last year where he was 620K and then dropped to 480K in 4 games. I with the same role that he has currently. Here's the thing with Petrarca. He's going to he's a downhill skier of note. He's absolutely going to clean up the easy sides, and he's absolutely, if he has the same role against the harder teams, he's going to go 60 to 80 to 90-ish. Like this is what he does.
Yeah, but
like he goes huge or he goes shit.
I don't think it's actually got to do with anything with the teams because he's proven against the hard teams he can score. He just goes through these lull moments where, and I agree.
And it could be 6 weeks though. That's the thing.
That's right.
But right now he's on a high.
Yeah.
So his low's coming later.
Well,
hey, which hard team are you talking about? The 97 against the Dogs, the 97 against Brisbane, or are you talking about?
No, but like he's got
the 167 against.
He's got the history of doing like massive scores against good sides.
Yeah, you're paying $620K for a guy that goes 98.
Yeah, I mean, he can also go bloody mate, he can score anything.
I just feel like there's guys 100K cheaper that could output way better.
I like a couple of value guys that you're going to bring up, but I think for come to the end of the season and points overall, Petrarca's outscoring all of them. But there's better value that I'm happy to jump on. Like you're going to talk about, your Mills and your Brayshaws and guys like that. I think
don't ruin my list, Swizz.
Yeah,
right. I can do it myself. Asshole.
And I'm more than happy to go where you're going there because they're 100K cheaper, and they're going to get close to what Track's going to score.
But I think Track's gone as a player pick, but I
think Track. If you're looking who's going to score the most points at the end of the year, it's going to be Track.
Track won't be top 10 for the rest of the year.
I agree with that.
See, I disagree. I think Track will be.
There you go. You two can pair up. Chris can double down on a bet. I've made enough bad decisions this year.
But anyway, you go, George. So yeah, I like Track. I like Walsh. I like and if I kneel in 3 weeks, but if I had to put one of the other guys in, it's either Merritt or Parrish and toss a coin for whichever one.
Swizz, why kneel in 3 weeks when you can blow me now?
That's right. Fuck
okay, so Chris joke.
I'll go with the end of your list, which is Merritt, 100% number one ranking. I actually brought him in last week because I needed someone from Took. Yeah, absolutely, and I went straight to Merritt. Merritt's run, Essendon's run is ridiculous from now on. I think it's is it next week or the week after?
Yeah. So after next week, they've got Richmond, West Coast North, and Carlton leading to their bye.
Actually, no, even Brisbane this week. He went 150 against us last year, paid him zero respect.
So,
we were there.
Straight after
I actually
listed, they've got Freo as well.
Early in the season, I listed round 10 as the reason that the week that I want to get him, right? Now, I just had an opportunity with Toot going down, so I was like, okay, I'll get him a couple of weeks early. I knew that Geelong wasn't going to be great. Last week, dude, you will testify to this with Swizz. He ended at 114 and somehow got scaled back to 106.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
I have no idea why that was. I was shocked. But his game was way better than that score. The problem was his use a little bit under par for what he usually produces. He also gave up a goal assist when it should have been a goal for himself. Like he was running into an open goal at about 45 out and decided to play the team game, chip over the top to a player that he didn't even get the goal assist for because it dropped a little bit short. The guy stopped, propped, picked up the half volley and then handballed over the top and they got a goal. But he didn't even get an effective kick for that. He wouldn't have even got So
the reverse Danaher is what you're saying. When you get
legitimately. Yeah. So he could have kicked the goal himself.
I know,
45 meters out running.
Because you went Merritt. I know a couple others went Parrish instead. And
I hate Parrish. Where's the upside coming from? He's already averaging 35 disposals. Where's the upside from Parrish? I just don't see it.
That's the worry there. But it's funny because, he can still average 35, but I think maybe it's just clean up the disposal efficiency, or he's on more of those scoring chains in wins, and maybe it becomes 5 to 10 points there.
And once they have a good run, champion data start to pay attention.
They do. They absolutely do.
I think the problem with Parrish is that he was the defensive midfielder, and now he's not. So he's not getting it as contested as he used to get. The problem is he's kicking more because he's in more space. And his kicking efficiency is down. So his actual kick-to-handball ratio is increased. But his kick efficiency is less. So even though he's averaging more disposals, I think he's might be potentially averaging same or similar contested possessions. But the fact that he's kicking more but hitting less targets as an uncontested ratio, that is the issue with his scoring. So where he used to get even hack kicks in contest or whatever it may be, now he's I'm clear and open, but he's missing targets, and that's an issue. I think his kicking efficiency is down 3%, but his kick to handball ratio is up, significantly up. So if you're kicking more than you were handballing that was hitting a target, you're having less effective disposals overall, and kicks obviously are worth more than the handballs, but ineffective kicks are worth a lot less. So it's, that's pretty much where I see. And if that's role dependent, is that Parrish dependent or role dependent? Kind of feels like it's role dependent. So
was getting like Ace Ventura flashbacks. So I was like, I'm open. Over here, I'm open.
So yeah, Merritt's my clear number one. I like his run's ridiculous, and we all know what he does in the back end of the year. It starts from this week or next week. Brisbane,
week,
Richmond, West Coast, North, Carlton, Freo, all in a row is just an absolute ridiculous bunny run. Then he has Port, which he just went 106, but should have been 114. Adelaide, who whatever on the day, and then the hard run. So he has a 3-game stretch of Geelong, Western Bulldogs, Sydney, but then finishes the year with West Coast, North, GWS. So 3 games again, and then the last round of the season is against Collingwood, which is going to be tough for him to score. But what did he go against Collingwood earlier in the season? Pies.
It was like the other week, wasn't it?
Oh, he was suspended.
Oh, that's right, he was too. But that's also good for if you're playing in matchups as well for cash leagues or whatever you got going on. Though the 4 rounds before the end of the season is generally where you want to be trying to get them in. So have a good run there. So I'd have Merritt fairly high up on my list. Parrish maybe not as much, more because I think he's yet to pull it together. So I'm a big value kind of person. So number one for me is Ollie Wines, boys, 400K. I'm kidding. I actually quite like Steel based because of the
Steel's going to be my
just because of the soft draw, and people will probably get scared off. And I think just don't overthink it. He's a low price player. Even last year when he came back from an injury, still averaged 115 for the back end of the year. You put him in a soft draw, I just think if you're going to get 95 at a minimum, he's still going to be pumping out some 120s here and there. So I think he'll improve as the more runs he gets, Chris.
Yeah, and the other thing with Steele is that we were worried about his shoulder, right? Well, he had 7 tackles again on the weekend. He had 11 tackles the week before. So he's averaging 9 tackles per game over the last 2 weeks. Like, I'm not worried about that then. So we're not really worried about his role. 81% CBAs. I know he went obviously forward a little bit. Like, was he just forward because of the way North were playing, or was he forward because he's forward? I think it's more because North were playing that way. He was drawn a little bit more forward than he usually would be. I like Steele because of his run. The only thing that's turning me off him is his injury, which to me, the tackle numbers suggest that that's not an issue. So I think he gets better as the season progresses. And at this price, it's not really... You're sort of getting gifted a guy that was underpriced to start the year that could burn us if you don't have him. And that's the thing going forward. Is like, how many people have jumped on Steele already? How many people are about to jump on him? If you miss this stretch of the next 3-4 games, you can probably wait until the buy to pick him up, because obviously he's got the round 12 buy. But you're probably paying 80K more. Like, you would legitimately pay 580K, 600K.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
What I mean? Like, and you'd probably pick it up. Like, you'd probably pay the money at that point if he goes on a run for 120 over the next 3 weeks. So yeah, for me, I will just lock him in. Like, I like Steele as an option, and my third would be Brayshaw. But you like Brayshaw as well, Ben?
Yeah.
I thought you'd have Mills over Brayshaw.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
sorry,
it's okay.
I'll talk
Mills. I'll talk Brayshaw. You can talk Mills.
I would have had Mills above. Sorry, I would have Mills above Steele. So
I was going to say, I feel like there was something missing there, because I'd have Mills above both of them.
I'm on my fifth.
Yeah,
so.
No,
that's
don't
fair.
worry, Chris, I'm here for you, brother.
So Brayshaw for me, my only concern is, yes, that's a really big score, which has kind of re-sparked some of the generation, and he shouldn't have been 20K more than the 5-10K or whatever he was the week just prior. But the coach did say this is probably the best he has run and defensively this season, like the best he's played this season. We did know he had foot issues or something or other coming in, or a little bit underdone, but that's one big game. So we go with, LDU had a few big games that people brought him in. So just because it's like, has he really turned the corner, or are you just jumping at recency bias on the fact that he just did do well? Now, also, when you've just played well and you come up against Sydney, there is every chance that Brayshaw might actually even get a tag this week. Possibly.
Yes.
That is also a consideration. So for me, I'm probably going Steele and Brayshaw. Mills probably the other one. I like Brayshaw's role a little better if he can pull it together. Mills, if some of these defenders come back in and they stop mucking around his position and the rest of it, Mills has huge upside if they actually play him right. Chris,
my big issue with any Freo player pretty much is their fixture is disastrous. So what we knew at the start of the season was that they had this absolute ridiculous run to start the season, which is why we were looking at guys like Brayshaw. And that has come to an absolute steaming halt. And they have really bad fixtures for the rest of the season, like really, really, really bad. So not interested from a fixture perspective in terms of upcoming games. I mean, you just take a look at the next. They have these like really mini runs of all bad games. So Sydney, Geelong, Melbourne, next 3. Then they have Richmond, GWS, Essendon. So that's like all right. Like obviously Richmond's a good fixture. GWS is an okay fixture. Essendon's an okay fixture. Then they have Bulldogs, Carlton, Collingwood, Sydney, Geelong, back to back. Brisbane's opened up to a little bit of a fixture, which is the next one, but that's 6 games that are booking a loss. Then they have the derby again in round 22, and they finish with Port and Hawks. So there's just like 9 games there that I'm just out of the remaining games that I'm like, I hate that matchup. Like I just don't enjoy it at all. So for me, if I'm bringing in Brayshaw, it's because I'm sort of Hail Marying. Like I'm literally going, all right, well, I've just got to have like something super unique in my team that's going to set my team aside. He's obviously a 110 proven premium before. Like, do we go that way? Like, that's what I'm thinking. What about you, Swizz? Are you thinking same on Brayshaw?
Yeah, I'm not huge on it because I actually feel like it's nearly been so wrong and has changed with
Does Sarong's role change now that Brayshaw's picked it up? Because he went 149, but Sarong only went 106 this week.
Yeah, I don't think Sarong gets tagged, but that's the other thing as well. It's but it's quite possible that is the case.
So the thing with Brayshaw working in his favour, did you see the quote that from Brayshaw last week?
No.
So Brayshaw actually came out and said, "Yeah, I've had a bit of a knee issue, but this week was the first week that I played without pain. That was against Brisbane last week when he got a 91, and then he comes out the week after and goes 149. So you're like, okay, well maybe that's credence to his poor form, granted, and I do believe that is the case, but is that going to transcend the really poor fixture run that he's got coming up anyway? Is he more the attacking mid now or the two-way mid?
I'm still, and it's still worrying me the fact that if he's had that knee soreness and that can reoccur at any point. I don't like picking players who have been playing around with injuries and stuff like that. So not when there's Mills, not when there's Brayshaw. I mean, it's Jack Steele at that sort of price. It's not that far up to get to Parrish, Merritt. And then we, as I said, even that left field option of say Max Holmes, if Dangerfield is 6 to 8 weeks,
right? I'd rather Max Holmes than Andy Brayshaw.
Yeah, I'm the same, 100%,
like, legit.
Like Max Holmes, as we said, we're going 100 with Geelong's full strength side in. Now he nearly becomes that number 1 guy. I know Emily's pretty big on him and that as well. So that's the kind of thing which I go, okay, how much can I end up keeping like an Ashcroft or somebody else in my side? And do I just go, okay, here's a value guy I can jump on with that I'm confident Geelong are going to win, which means he's going 105. And that at least.
Why would you pass on Steele and get Holmes? If you go Holmes, you'll end up without a house.
I'll
get Steele. I'll get Steele or Mills first. I'm just saying if I had another, if I'm like my option then.
If you're like me and you're really my option was like
Brayshaw. If that's all I had left to get. Brayshaw, I'd drop down and get Mills, Holmes instead.
Well, and the main reason that I would say that is because I think you don't hold Mills the whole year. I think you hold him while Danger's out and then you trade him out. So it's like a short-term play.
Holmes.
Yeah.
So with Holmes, it's a short-term play where you bring him in, he covers you over the buys because he obviously has that great buy, and then you trade him out once Danger returns, which is probably going to be, let's say if he's out for 4 to 6 or whatever. I think it might
could probably become 6 to 8 because it's Danger. They're going to look after him,
and that's what I mean.
To finals.
Let's say it's 6 weeks minimum. Then you get a really good stretch, and then you flip him at the end of the buys to whoever you want. He probably goes up to what's he at 490. You make 480.
So it's
pick whoever you want from a 600k mid at that point.
Yeah.
That's only really a play if you've got trades, obviously, but. I just don't know what I'm going to get out of Brayshaw, and it's a really scary thing.
That's it, and that's why I was so big on say your Walsh because he's so consistent. He just coming back from injury and he's still going hundreds every week. Like he hasn't peaked yet. They're just what you're getting from them. At least you know what you get from your Parrish and Merritts each week. Brayshaw could just be anything, throws up. And that's the concern with Mills, because depending on his role each week, can be anything. But we know if in the right role, he's the best value this week if the Swans use him correctly.
Yeah, so I suppose Mills we should touch on, because I really...
Hang on. You can't spend that much money on Holmes. He's not going to get anywhere close to 590, 600K, averaging 100 or 105.
He's not averaging 100 over the
No,
next.
he's not.
Danger's out.
Yeah.
No chance.
And Guthrie,
Geelong are very well
struggling,
spread.
mate.
They are not so reliant on one person. You don't see one person standing out outside of Stewart, you know what I mean, going, oh my God, I'm just so dominant. It's just not going to happen. Like it.
No, it's.
Have you seen what Dangerfield's been averaging, mate?
The success and the amplification of what goes on inside your head probably shouldn't be amplified to the extent it has. Holmes is probably the shittest thing we have put out in a little while.
I don't agree.
I own him in drafts, and I tell you what, he's awesome to own, and that's why with those guys,
in draft where a 105 mid is like gold, liquid gold.
Mate, he's 105 without. Yeah, I mean, have you seen how shit the midfielders have been going this year?
Rory Lair's the 10th averaging midfield. He's averaging 108.9.
8 points. That's right.
But you're not even having him for the whole season. You're talking about a flip.
Mate, the way Holmes is going, mate, the way everyone else is going, he probably does become the whole season.
So Holmes CBA is over this scoring run. Just to clarify. So when he went, his first ton was round 2. He went 102. So he's had 34, 48, 32, 32, 31, 45, 34%. So let's say that bumps up to a minimum 50% average. So you're not asking Holmes to be the guy that replaces Danger for the foreseeable future. If he gets a 50% bump, which is a 10 to 15% average bump on what he's currently doing, yeah, sure. He's already averaging well enough that he could average 110, 115 over that run, and then you can get him to 600K quite easily. Like that's a no-brainer.
And when you think so many people at the moment are trading in Noel Anderson, and we're talking about Anderson's going to potentially have his score. He's going to have score effect. One of them's a good when player. Took comes back, and Took's coming back earlier than Dangerfield. You can have a guy.
There's Geelong people that listen to this podcast that just all died at the roll of the grave.
I do rate Holmes. He was on my watch list as far as preseason, particularly for draft, right? And it's nothing to take away from him. It's just what you're selling. It's like, not as advertised is pretty much where we're at. Now you do say, he's the top whatever midfielders, but you also look at Taranto, Dunkley. They are forward eligible, but they are playing midfield. So they'll lose that DPP, which means that technically speaking, they're actually part of the scoring potential for a midfielder. Right? So what you're talking about, Holmes,
they're not losing their DP.
No, next year they will.
Oh, yeah, next year's about next year.
We're not worried about next year.
It's not a keeper league.
You're talking about potential and how bad the midfielders are, but I'm saying that there are two guys who are playing midfield in that role, scoring heavily. So it's the role dependent on their potential. So I'm just saying that Holmes is an absolute dud, and the fact that you two are I think you two are bad, but literally drinking in your own bathwater at the moment.
Hey, right? I am drunk. He's on Lemsip. I feel like we balance each other out.
I'm tempted to bring him in just so when I'm ranked at top 500 in a couple of weeks, I'll be like, oh, thanks, Maxi Holmes. Cheers, mate.
To avoid damage, I'm going to let you both talk about Max Holmes on your own bloody single segment, which will be, I'm sure, absolutely glorious.
Q&A Thursday night, guys. Get on.
So the last one to talk about is obviously Callum Mills, which I'll just a little bit of the deep dive that I did.
Some value. Thank you.
Now, there's a few things with Callum Mills. So first of all, he had a spike in his CBAs this week. Now, that also happened to coincide with the return of Robbie Fox and Tom McCartan back into the side. Now, that's not a coincidence. So we see that moving forward. If they get more of their defenders coming back, which there are a few more weeks away, but as they get more, he will probably get more into the midfield and get more into that rotation where we know Mills can score. Now, the deep dive I did over the preseason was that when he went over, I think it was like 60% CBAs, his scores went through the roof. But then when they dropped to 40 to 50%, they dropped well down in terms of his averaging. So you'd have to be going into that knowing that his roles obviously are all over the shop. That's unfortunately what happens with Callum Mills. But if he does get over 60% CBAs, you could be looking at 120 plus averaging Supercoach for the next however long. And that's the huge upside that comes with, say,
and the
Callum
ceiling.
Mills the ceiling's huge. And like So I look at Callum Mills as a guy I bring in this week because Freo have leaked unbelievable scores to mids, to especially premium mids. So the mid that's going to score, they absolutely leak points. So this week they come up against that matchup, and if he gets 60+% CBAs, you could be looking at a 150 plus from Callum Mills quite easily. And that's where I go, okay, the guy that can go huge against those bunny sides is the guy you want to kind of look at. Now, I did have a look at his heat map, and so there's a little bit of conjecture over, well, did he really play midfield? Because, his heat map says he basically played all defense, right? That's because of the way that Sydney played football this week. They played basically the same football that North Melbourne played, which was keepings off, go through the wing. He had 9 marks to his name and 31 disposals, but 19 handballs. Last year, his average for kick to handball ratio was 1.4. So this week, so he only had 100 points, but his kick to handball ratio was negative. It was 12 kicks, 19 handballs. So they'll try and mark, run, carry. It just wasn't working. Everything that they tried, the Swans, to try and maintain the possession and try and chip through the Collingwood zone and blah, 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 just did not work. The pressure was too high.
Do you think that's because Collingwood are so dynamic and dangerous with ball in hand, and that they actually link up and play aggressively where you're trying to keep the ball off them for as long as possible? Because the more Collingwood have the ball, the more it kind of fuels their own adrenaline and the game style that they want to play. They actually get that confidence in because they get the touches.
I agree with that. I mean, the thing with Collingwood right now, what's amazing is that they're top 4 in turnovers, but they're bottom of the league in scores from turnovers, which is just ridiculously insane. So that means that they've got another level to go to. They didn't want to sort of lean into that and give them the opportunity to turn the ball over and give them the opportunity to score because they're so good at turning the ball over. So they tried to get to the point where they would even 55, 60, 70 meters out to try and enter the 50, as opposed to, bombing the ball from, say, it's just past the center, which is what most teams do. So you get past the center line and then you're running along the wing and then you bomb it to, say, 30 meters out. That's kind of the go-to for most teams trying to score. And that doesn't work against Collingwood because their defense is so well structured. So trying to get closer, get deeper entries, use the forwards that they were actually leading out. But what they did, it was counterproductive because by chipping the ball around, that meant as Collingwood just sat deep and they had numbers sitting in those holes where they're in the leading lanes, and it didn't work for them at all. So it worked to try and maintain the score as low as possible, and that's what North Melbourne tried to do against St Kilda. Let's control the football so that we reduce the impact or the amount of times that they can score. And then hopefully we're in it with a shot. And to Sydney's credit, it worked up to basically 3/4 time. And then they can't run not a lot of teams can run 4 quarters against Collingwood. They're one of the only teams right now that are running every week. They're running 4 quarters. If you want to beat us, you've got to outrun us. And that's just not happening.
Yeah, I remember how we spoke when Lions played them and how Collingwood were kind of leading them to the boundary line. Same kind of thing. I think they're very, very well drilled. So they were leading Sydney players out towards the wing so that way they kick it. And then what will happen is that they'll actually either kick it towards the wing where Collingwood's in best position anyway. Or if they actually do try and kick it more central to where their player is, it's okay, so they just turn around and then punch the ball, spoil it, but then their spoil now based on their positioning is actually more corridor bound. So it could be a very, very dangerous turnover position as well. So I honestly rate them probably more than I'd like to say as far as their discipline and structure. Discipline, Swizz, that's a term that Richmond fans aren't used to.
So 100 versus them is not necessarily bad because Collingwood are actually now not leaking midfield points that they were last year. So that's a big thing. They're actually controlling the Supercoach narrative now. So I actually really like Mills moving forward. I like their fixture moving forward. I think they still play Freo twice. They've got a couple of really bunny sides in there that they still have to play twice, maybe Hawks twice or something like that. Or I don't know, I can't remember. But I looked at their fixture and I was very happy. So I don't mind Mills is the, I suppose, the overall of that. And I'd probably have Mills number 1. Number 2, because I really like Merritt. So Merritt 1, Mills 2.
Okay, and I'll go Steele 1, Merritt 2. Brayshaw Mills for me, toss up. Either way. It depends particularly on that part there. Oh, Max Gawn. So Fantasy Freako, I just saw this. This is how late I am in bloody all of my here, which leads into our Ruck segment. Has played 40% game time as a forward in each of the last 3 rounds. So that's really, really good because he was sitting, was it first round out or second round out, 36% forward eligible. So that now another 40% game actually just adds him more and more into that mix as well. They play Hawks coming up. So I doubt against an easy opponent, I'm sure they both keep rotating heavily through that mix. I was actually a bit worried, Swizz, that because of the Suns game and how dominant Wits was, it just felt like Gawn played a lot more mid-time to me because he's a better tap ruckman up against another taller guy. Whereas if it was like against an English or someone or other, then they might use Grundy, who's a bit better on the ground level, to run up and match up against those running sort of ruckman types. So 500, what is he, like 510K or something? Right? Oh no, he jumped up a little bit, Maxi Gawn. Is there a scenario in which you would actually get him at this point? Like, who are they? If Sinclair maybe doesn't get up, which it doesn't seem likely that he'll miss, but if he doesn't, is that where you would probably head for those owners?
Well, I think you mean Marshall.
Oh, Marshall, what did I say? Bloody
Sinclair.
Oh,
Sinclair. I was like, how did Sinclair gain Ruck status?
Yeah, I was
yeah,
like, what
for
the
sure.
fuck? It's definitely a food for thought if Marshall isn't right, and that it's something I'll consider.
So, Chris, you heard that 40% forward time the last 3 rounds for Gorney?
Yeah. So, and what we saw last week is that added 2% to his overall. So I think he was 36%. So he'd be probably 38% overall right now.
Awesome. Another round of that, and you could almost lock him in.
Yeah.
2 rounds to go.
So I brought him in obviously last week with the idea that he's likely going to be at F6 for me, but his current true average is 114. I want to say. I wanted to say that.
I feel like it was one.
So if you take out his zero,
is that a 130, 140, 98, and 80. What's that add up to? So it's pretty good. It makes him like F3 anyway. I think only F3 because Zeeble. Oh, so it's slightly under Zeeble, I think, because I think Zeeble's now F2. Oh, okay. So he's actually in front of Zeeble. So there's Taranto, Dunkley, because Dunkley shot up, and then him. So the problem is you can't really wait, right? Like you can, I guess, till the round 12, DPP, and then you can bring him as a forward. But like by that stage, 3 weeks time, he's going to be 550, 600K. Like I don't know what he's probably going to be, but the role is conducive to what we saw last year with Max Gawn, which is some days he can go 140, some days he can go 80. And it's going to be dependent on hit outs to advantage. Does he hit the scoreboard? Those kind of things. This week he had a game where he had hit outs to advantage. He was marking the ball behind the ball. He kicked the goal in front, taking contested marks. Like he just had an everything game. And like he's actually got scaled packs like late in the last quarter, which was annoying because I think he was tracking for a 140 plus. I personally think that if he was already forward, he'd be a must-have. But not many people are in the option right now. You're not going to trade out R1 Tim English. Like, are you really doing that Tim English to Max Gawn? You're probably not. If you have the opportunity this week for, say, a Marshall down because of the injury, potentially, but you're not trading out Marshall for the sake of trading out Marshall.
No, that's where it becomes only if Marshall's injury, is no good.
It's pretty much only
consider.
It's only the Grundy owners that went to Gawn are probably the only beneficiaries from it. Making
only
the best of a bad
situation.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went the Gawn as well because it's when you look at the price point as well, a guy that can go 100, 110 at 500,000 price. Same as the reason I look at Steele. You go, okay, I'll get a guy for 520,000. But when if he was a forward or a defender, you'd be like, oh my God, a guy that can go 110, 115 for 520K, why are they not in my side? But then all of a sudden it's a midfielder and everyone gets greedy. Like, oh no, I want a 115. I want to pay 600K, 580, 590K. It's like, why? You got a guy, Max Gawn, 512,000, a guy who can average 110 and possibly get forward status. It's
and I've
just
just
a
been
no-brainer.
Sitting here each week going, well, you guys talking about Grundy and Gawns and that. I'm like, oh, don't you guys just have set and forget in your rucks?
You didn't start set and forget your rucks.
I know, I didn't. I had Wits. Yeah. Wits became English very quickly.
Yeah, so I mean, Gawn's next 3 games are Hawthorn, Port, and Freo.
Yeah. Do you reckon they? Who are they? Tickle?
Darcy
What's
obviously
Tickle?
is Darcy obviously is pretty serviceable.
Well, it's a
as a
bit.
ruck.
But this is the sort of game Gorn gets subbed.
Potentially, but yeah, and then next week
I don't
against
think
Port,
so.
Port's a
leaked the
different
most.
story. Port's a
He's
different
a
story.
VC chance against Port, man.
Yeah, that's it. So this week I could see if they get no other injuries, Gorn gets subbed. Next week dominates Port, and then the Darcy Jackson.
We've been
will
saying
be
that for ages, but if you sub a ruckman, and even
Yeah.
I was hoping that was it Fremantle were beating the Dogs or whoever they were playing. No, not the Dogs, bloody Hawks. Maybe was it Fremantle beating up the Hawks, and I was like, okay, maybe one of the ruckmen will get done. They go, oh, we'll just get rid of not Tickle, bloody, you've got that in my head now, but the other forward Tracy.
Yeah, but mate, different story this week, mate. They're
But
closest to the
else?
pin. Melbourne Hawthorn. I'm going 110 points. Like they're going to trounce them.
Yeah,
absolutely trounce them.
If anything, wouldn't you rest Grundy, who's just pretty much come off a massive run of one ruck?
Mate, you see how much strapping and everything Gorn's got on?
Oh, he's a strapping
they're going to be up
mate.
by 70 points halfway through the third, and they're going, Maxi, have a rest, son.
Maybe.
How dare you put that out in the universe, Swizz?
Mate, if they don't get another injury, he's the one. And he'll be sitting there just having a laugh on the bench as they pile on even more.
Van Rowan played the worst
mate.
side. Yeah, exactly. He's suspended.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
Yeah. It would have been awesome having him out there.
No, I think they need him. Keep the two rucks out there. They'll just park him forward, mate. You just stand full forward, get a couple snags.
Nah.
It does bring up a valid point though. Like people trading in guys like, okay, and we will just briefly touch on forwards opportunities, but people trading in guys like Goulden. I have a mate that's looking at trading in Goulden. Like that's a fine trade in, but are you really going to trade in a guy that is probably borderline top 10 at this point versus a guy that's guaranteed top 6? Because that's Max Gawn. You also got Darcy Cameron coming back in 3 weeks. Like, what does that look like? Now, the other opportunities, even if Gawn averages the same as, say, Goulden for the rest of the season, let's say even if that's the case, Gawn also provides pretty damn valuable ruck cover because Tim English will go down. Book it here now. He is not playing 23 games, sorry. So that 1 or 2 week injury is bound to happen at some point. When are we looking at that happening? Marshall is on borrowed time as well. Let's be honest. I mean, even that rolled ankle, this is a classic Marshall injury. You want ruck cover for the rest of the season at some point. If you don't have it, you can get it by round 12, either through Darcy Cameron, who will also be probably 500k, or you can get it through Max Gawn. I personally don't think it's worth throwing the baby out of the bathwater to essentially bring in Max Gawn into your team now because he's cheap, and then trying to get English back later or trying to get Marshall back later. Like, none of that makes any sense to me. Unless you are seriously loaded with trades, sure, go for it. But the normal thing to do with Supercoach is to stay par for course, trade in what you can when you can, and then deal with problems as they come.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're loaded with trades, then you just pay $560, whatever it is, for Gawn when he hits DPP, and that would be the wise decision. Some of us got kind of forced into Gawn. It's like either we go Gawn now, or we pretty much go one down, one up, and burn trades just to get to another ruck, which was either make money or spend money.
Well, some of us saw this early. And I've got receipts. All right. Gawn R1 receipts. When I traded Wits out to Cameron, then Cameron got injured, I saw this happening and I was like, all right, well, I actually think that Gawn's a chance to be better than English this year. And I still think that's the case. English has finally hit his recession and realized that he's not bulletproof. It's going to be interesting to see what they average for the rest of the season. I think that English comes back a little bit to the mean, and I think that he averages around 120 for the season.
Interesting. So English comes back to the pack, still scores a 125.
Right. But that's good. It's good. I mean, what English is bound to? He should be dropping more cash, right? What's English averaging at the moment?
He's dropping cash. He's averaging like 128, isn't he? Like he's crazy.
He's averaging
130.
130
still. I think.
Yeah. He was 131. Now he's less.
Like he's got a break even of 156, but he's playing Carlton against their rucks.
So Pitney is actually a very defensive ruckman, and he doesn't let a lot of scores through from memory. I would
Yeah,
have to
from
look
tap
into
outs,
it.
but around the ground,
Around the
Pitney
ground, mate.
That's true.
will be.
He's a way different.
Around the ground, English will just run around with
Because
Nick Cripps.
Big O killed him around the ground the other day. Got like 110.
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, you got Ned Reeves over here just killing him for 90. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, God.
Anyway, so I think we're done with mids. Forwards we've pretty much
Bucks are
touched
done.
on.
Forwards are interesting though.
So do we bring in? Do people who not have Goulden bring in Goulden? He's
as a
got
guy
a
who
2 break even.
as a guy who did get rid of Goulden, they have the first buy, so that's kind of where it's not great because in 3 weeks' time you could almost get him after the buy, but he'll be way too priced for that point. And he did have a couple of games, but the last couple of weeks he's gone a couple of really juicy scores. This is the ceiling we always know Goulden had, and he's dropped a couple of stinkers. But when we have a look at their round coming up, Sydney do have quite a favourable run where
Which is why I like Mills as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but so what, Freo this week, but then North next week. And then Carlton, Saints, Lions, but then Hawks, Geelong, Richmond. So there's a little bit of a tit for tat at some point, but this week, next week, North next week, Goulden could go to the moon as well.
I think that's what a lot of people are looking at. They're going, okay, well, this guy just went huge. But I will say a lot of people don't know this, but Goulden's CBAs also dropped to 0% over the weekend.
Yeah, he had a lot. Was it half back, wing, kind of a lot of disposals, wasn't it?
Wing mainly, but again, he had like 13 marks, didn't he? Again,
so the game style.
The game style of Sydney this week was stop Collingwood, get the ball into the hand of the good users. So get the ball to Mills, get the ball to Goulden, get the ball to these guys, so that they can chip through the Collingwood zone and then get deep into the attacking zone to go deep inside 450. It just didn't work. So Goulden was easily the best player, but for the first 3 quarters he was absolutely on fire, and then barely touched in the last. So I would have to rewatch tape as to see why that was the case. I know that obviously Collingwood got on top and they absolutely killed them, but is that because they tagged Goulden potentially? Is that what happened? I don't know. I might have to go back and rewatch it to see what happened with Goulden that last quarter. I think, and the thing is, we don't really know what the Supercoach scores were at 3/4 time because Supercoach went down for that game. So we're all like, I think he was on 157 fantasy at 3/4 time, and he finished on 165 so he didn't have many.
Yeah, it was
possessions at
117 or 118. I thought for Supercoach. I don't know the reason he slowed Chris. He copped a few of the Papley sprays.
Oh, the old elbows, hey? Yeah.
All right, so Goulden is not in your top 2 then upgrades for forwards or 3? Would you go there or no, Chris, if you're not an owner? Are you trying to keep your... He is heavily owned though as well, so it's not you're not really gaining too much.
I wouldn't until I see a shift in. See what I think's happened. So we see the Mills gets 63% CBAs. Goulden goes down to 0. That's a really bad sign for his future scoring potential. I know that we know that wingers can have these big spike games and they can go absolutely crazy with the right role, right? So, but I don't we traditionally see wingers go massive and then have a complete 40 game, which is what we've seen with Goulden, 2 weeks ago. So do we see that he might still average, let's say 90 to 100, but not necessarily get all the way up to that sort of 105, 110 range that we probably think that he could do with, say, 50% CBAs? And if that role is completely gone, they throw that out because Sydney have been uncompetitive for a while. They want to get their mid-mix in that they had last year. They want to play Mills more in the midfield. All of this stuff's happening. So does Goulden get shoved out to the wing where he's actually really effective as a winger, by the way, because he's kicking so good. So I'm sort of question mark with Goulden right now. And if I didn't have him, I'm not sure I'd be like, oh my gosh, I have to get him this week. And I think that's just something to remember. Obviously, I do have him, so I'm in that fortunate position so I can make a decision later. I actually think that there could be a run of games where he averages 80 and then I might want to trade him.
You might burn him after the buy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I might go, well, actually, I don't really. Yeah, so at round 12, I might just go flip him to Cornelio or something like that. I don't know. That's just something to throw out there. But yeah, so just something to be aware of is that the role is not necessarily what we really like for Supercoach scorers in this year. Anyway.
Interesting. And you think Darcy Cameron's coming back around the bye? Someone to kind of watch as well. They want him back as soon as possible, surely.
Could be as soon as 2 weeks. They've flagged round 10 as the week they want to get him in.
So
but
next
he's
week.
listed, he's listed at 2 to 4 now. So, this week. Oh, that would be even earlier.
Yeah,
but
next
they did
week.
flag. There was an article that came out last week that's saying that he could be back as soon as round 10. I'm not sure if that's the case, whether there was an extra week, but he has actually, I think he has from memory, a really low break even. So if you want him, you kind of got to jump on him on that week, because I think he's just over 500K with like an 85 break even or something like that.
494K with a break even of 53, so you'd have to go there.
Wow.
Early, yeah.
You kind of have to get him the week he goes. Yeah. So if you don't want to trade in a forward, then obviously then that's pretty important.
I'll go. Yeah.
So where's your forwards?
It's Bailey Smith, especially with Treloar's hammy now. So that does open up the roles in there. It's most likely to be McRae that probably gets the CBA jump, but Chris, you got it there. What Treloar's been playing, I feel like he's been playing a lot of midfield.
Very high, very
high lately.
Yeah, which has been great for his scoring, but not great for his hammies. They finally realised.
And it was freezing. Was it like 0 degrees or something in the last quarter up there on the weekend? And that was always going to happen to Treloar, unfortunately for him. So that does open the door for Bailey, whose price is probably as cheap as you're going to get him. Break even of 69, under 500K. So he is definitely
back-to-back tons as well. 103, 109. As a forward, which is probably where the appeal is, and again, someone who just under 500. So that's another good price point for a point of difference as well. He's only 2% owned in teams as well, and last year I think before he kind of got suspended or got dropped, not suspended or
definitely didn't get dropped,
injured I think, but he was averaging about a 107. He was on an absolute heater, and then just fell off the face of the earth. So it
will be interesting to see what they do, but what's
McRae's a good shake for sure.
Bevo, man, honestly. So
Lord Magneto. Liam Jones CBAs this week.
No, I did notice though. Caleb Daniel actually did spend a few CBAs late in that midfield mix. Instead of playing forward, Caleb Daniel was actually in the shake.
So it seems like that was the plan. Now, so it looks like this. Okay, so if you look at the CBAs, Caleb Daniel had 48%. Right, and Treloar only had 44%. So you assume that Caleb Daniel was the one that came into that, because before that, Treloar was going 80%, 68, 86, 87, 78. So he was averaging about 80% CBAs, right? So the last week, though, Caleb Daniel had 44% also because Libba was out. So Caleb Daniel seems to be their solution going forward. However, what's interesting is that last week, Bailey Smith only had 41%. But this week he had 0%. So even though he had an uptick in his scoring, it didn't result from his role being any better. So I want another week of data on that.
So even with the Treloar injury, so Caleb Daniel goes into the mix, which makes sense because that's what I saw, and then they just use Bailey Smith on the outside still.
Absolutely.
What about McRae? Did he see any uptake or not really? Last 2 weeks with Libba out.
It's funny. Nope. Absolutely not. Last 2 weeks. So for the last...
But Treloar played most of that game, didn't he? Like, he got injured.
Last week, he was out.
What's his TOG? I'll find out. But so just before we...
he still scored like 80-something. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was pretty late.
So Jack McRae's CBAs for the year started out round 1, 62%. Then he went 41, 40, 54, 55, 52, 48, 41. He's an absolute. So this week, after Treloar goes down, and last week with no Libba, went 48 and 41. That is just ridiculous. Like, what does Libba know that we all don't? Like, I just don't. Like, what is his thing? So I'll get Treloar's. So Treloar's TOG was 54%. So he basically was somewhere in the third quarter where that all happened. So the amount of CBA is obviously reflective on the amount of goals. So I didn't watch that game. I don't know when the goals were scored, but that gives you an idea of.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was late third quarter. Might have been even at 3/4 time kind of thing where Treloar got injured. So It would be better to get data on it. It's just the fact that, Bailey Smith's break even to what did I say, 69 or something like that. So it's, you still potentially have a week unless he just goes huge. And that's always a potential against Carlton, but I don't think he's going to break the bank this week. So if Bailey Smith was to come out and go 110 again, 115, does that make you more lean towards him then, Chris?
No,
because that would be
the other reason is the round 15 bye.
Yeah, and that's where the hard thing is.
So you have obviously Rosie, Cornelio.
Yeah.
Who else is in that? Butters.
Who would be my second option.
Taranto.
But again, it's that buy. Like Butters is the clear number 2 option of my forward options there. But it's just
Copton knee knock though too. Did you
that's
see
the thing. Yeah.
He was on 118 at 3/4 time.
Yeah.
And got a corky. Was out for most of the
wasn't
last
a cork.
quarter.
Wasn't a cork. He did it to himself.
He said that he had a corky in the post game.
What did he cork himself? He dove and dug his knee into the ground and jarred the. I think it was. They're talking about same kind of knee that he had last year, the same issue, but he jarred his knee into the floor.
Well, I think in a post match he said it was a corky. So
unless he corked himself, like if you jump into the ground and you cork your leg, I guess
maybe
the ground
it was before that impact and that just sort of compounded it. Could be.
True.
I don't know.
No.
But either way, he did. I don't know how much time on ground he played, but he was on 118 Supercoach at 3/4 time, and then finished on 125. So anyone looking at, I would be furious as a Butters owner because
71% time on ground.
Yeah, he was looking at a huge score. I was like, he's going 140 plus.
Easy.
Easy 140. He was by far the most dominant player on the ground.
100%.
And then him going off put Essendon back in the game because he was killing them. He was taking them apart. So like Butters, but not touching.
If he was declared fit, and they're playing North Melbourne this week again, it's.
He could go 140 again.
Yeah, I know. The problem is the
not touching him.
Just such a shame.
Not touching his body's the issue.
It always has been, but
Fan Footy did say that he was a knee knock in quarter 4, and I did see footage of him trying to tackle someone, but pretty much jumped knee first and into the turf and jarred himself. The thing to note with Butters though is that they did say again. So I know the injury issue is a concern, but if someone's looking at if they are trying to stack their rounds and their buys and the rest of it, I still quite like him. And when we have a look at they did say. Came out super late saying that he had a delayed preseason, blah, 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 which is why his CBA started to go up. So I don't know if the last month, Chris, whether those CBAs have actually been a little bit more consistent, but they said, hey, he's been, he's now had a bad preseason, came in a little bit underdone, so they didn't really play much at that point. And then the week he went nuts, they pretty much spoke about him in the media, wrote up an AFL article saying Butters is now feeling really fit and confident and stuff like that, and he wants to start getting back into that midfield mix, and then literally goes boom. And by boom, I mean he went out and got a 146, followed up with a 94, 96, and a 124.
Last 5 weeks of football, he's gone 68, 64, 55, 70, 62, which is really, really, So those have been big weeks for him because what we know from Butters is anything over 50% is actually really insane, but he sort of plateaus. So to put that into perspective, he was the second highest CBA attendance last week, yet barely played the last quarter. So Rosie had 80%. So it looked like that they saw what it kind of looked like. Okay, so they see Merritt and Parrish and go, well, we can play Rosie and Butters on those guys and we'll kill them offensively, which makes sense. And then they had Horn Francis 59, Ollie Wines 52. So he's actually coming back. He's sort of been scattering around that sort of 50% mid minutes, but mid CBAs. But at some point, right, surely they sort of get him right. Yeah. And he's playing 70, 80%. And
Wines has now had an 8-week preseason, basically. Yeah. And he's 400K. He's dropped so much money. He could be the biggest drop as far as price this year.
Well, I'm keeping an eye on it because there'll be a game where this shoots up, right, from 50% to say 70%. At that point, pull the trigger on a Wines trade in, because if he goes say 120 that game and he has 70%, 80% CBAs, that's a flag. That's a huge flag that he is going to be changing roles for the rest of the season, and I will be 100% trading in Ollie Wines at M8, at that point. So it's one to keep an eye on. Willem Drew also had 41% CBAs in this one.
So Drew's the one they usually play more of that tagging, or at least try to nullify one of the buyers, and that's why he always seems to have decent CBAs in there. Joshua, can you get up there? And not that, because I don't really have a third option in there in the forward line because we have most of the forwards covered. But did Shea Bolton have a massive increase in centre bounce attendances this week? Felt like he did.
I'll bring it up. Give me 2 seconds.
Bolton is an interesting one.
No, he actually dropped.
He actually dropped into 152. That's bizarre.
So
I felt like he was more around the ball than he has been, but that's interesting.
Last 4 weeks, 52, 66, 67, 52. So that's still a massive increase on previous years. Like 50, he's averaging 50% CBAs for the season. So maybe they're using Shea Bolton in that Dustin Martin role that they used to have, because Martin's dropped well out of the CBAs. He had 33% in the weekends, but he's only averaging 12% for the season.
Yeah.
So he's dropped right off the map.
Wow. I just realized Charlie Kernow's averaging 103.3.
Yeah, because he had 180 or something the week before.
I know, but I'm just looking at like by average. I'm like, what? Where did this guy come from? Yeah. Okay, so Butters is currently 11th, but based on the change of role earlier in that season. So everyone else is heavily owned. So the Cornelio, Rosie, Goulden, Sheasel, Zeeble, Dunkley, Taranto are all your known factors. Jeremy Cameron's still the outlayer.
Mitch
not
Owens,
much outside of that.
Just flying.
Mitch Owens, right?
12.
Yeah,
hey, boys,
ridiculous.
can I just a quick little shout out to my man Dylan Moore, who's the 22nd highest averaging forward, not top 10.
Where's Wingard?
He's not supposed to be top 10, is he?
Well, that was the issue.
More than Wingard.
Stuff Wingard. As in the original statement still stands, and I was saying, do not pick Dylan Moore. He's not a top 10 forward, and everyone started jumping up and down. He's not even top 20th forward. So there you go.
But I don't think either of us also said that, because unless he gets the role, then he's not going to be able to do it. But he needs, and look, they don't want to win games. So that's something that we probably under-anticipated in preseason, is that Hawthorn don't want to win. So like, why would they play their best centre bounce mid?
They just make Wingard sub. I mean, it's just an absolute conspiracy.
They did drag Sicily off, with 5 minutes to go in a must-win game. So,
no, he dragged himself off that one. Yeah. So yeah, go figure. No, there's no real value outside of, like, say, Goulden, or waiting for one of these other players to sort of show up. So you're better off, I think, passing on most.
The only real left fielder, actually, again, it's not good for the buyers, is probably the greatest forward to watch is Toby Green. But unfortunately missed with injury on the weekend, because he has been absolutely flying. And that,
but you can't do it.
You can't do it.
Toby's going to miss. He's going to get suspended.
That's the problem with him. But God, he's awesome to watch. He's one of the best players to watch in the comp.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's actually flying from a Supercoach perspective.
If Caleb Daniel gets that mid-roll a bit more, 479k, he's actually a defender forward, which is the only reason I'd probably mention it. Otherwise, I'd pass. I still don't like it too much, but he could go close to 100 as a defender forward.
The difference between him and, like, when we were bringing up Holmes was there's too many points getting taken elsewhere at the Dogs.
Do not you dare bring in a defender forward who has some kind of relevance.
What relevance?
With a possible role change.
Mate,
and then bring Holmes back
that many people taking points at the Dogs. And I still think Bailey Smith gets slightly more. I don't think
I'm not upset about talking about the Dogs and lots of point scorers. I'm talking about the fact that you sideways railed my recommendation to what I've already publicly disclosed as the shittest possible recommendation we've made this year.
I can't wait to come back here in a month's time and be like, so Maxi
cool.
Holmes.
A month's time. That's 4 weeks out of 14 weeks left.
We'll worry about that afterwards.
Yeah, spoken like
month. Well, people are picking Noah Anderson for a month.
Zero hindsight. Yeah, but Noah Anderson can at least hold his own.
Holmes is holding his own.
Hey, there's no one home. It's like Jehovah's Witness knocking at your front door, right? There's no one there. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Oh, I apologize, Jehovah's. My bad.
I haven't seen a Jehovah's in a while.
I've had some write letters and stuff.
Sorry, I missed, guys. I just came back to some racial, some religious comments.
It's religious.
The best one we ever had. We had a couple of them over from Queensland, from New Zealand, and we were playing street cricket growing up, and we needed some extra fielders. And we're like, you guys can come field in. And they're like, well, it's better than knocking on doors. So they played straight
Okay,
through them.
let's not like dive down this one. I have had some lovely people within the community write me a letter and saying hi about themselves and the rest of it. I'm just not huge on pushing your agenda on other people, which isn't just them specifically. It's
I'll push my agenda. Get on Maxi Holmes.
we are all very opinionated super coaches. That is basically our religion. We push our opinions to people every single
100%.
week. So,
yeah, what is it? The views or whatever do not reflect our views. Entertainment purposes only.
All right, I think we should probably wrap up the pod because it seems like I'm a little bit.
We're 7 hours in, and
I've gone to the toilet 3 times, and I had 5
Seen that,
beers.
mate.
Yeah,
So,
you are getting old, Chris. Are you okay, mate?
I apologise for how sniffly and fluey I am tonight, guys. Everybody's
honestly,
watching me blow my nose every 10 seconds.
It was actually so awesome to have a pod again. We haven't
I
podded in
know.
a while. I feel like, should we do VC and C to wrap it up?
You do your VC because if they match, I'll just follow you.
Well, again, I do.
It's
So, so you are right with the Stewart on the Friday night. That could be a real thing. So
Get stretched it off 1 minute into the game. Yeah, go on.
Stewart on the Friday night is if you want an early VC and you like having a first night VC, Stewart on the Friday night is probably going to be a decent score. We haven't really, outside of the Gold Coast game, haven't seen him go real big. So that's not to say it's not bad. I personally love the Mills matchup against Freo, but he's obviously very lowly owned. So if you don't have Mills, then that's fine. I just, whatever. A lot of people, I think the most popular VC this week will be Clary versus Hawks, but beware because Hawks against midfielders is not great. And I hazard a guess that Nash will probably tag Clary. How much does that restrict him to? I don't know. He doesn't have a great history against Hawks. So going into dude, my laptop is frying.
Yeah, well, I'd actually go if you had him track against the Hawks.
Yeah, I'd prefer Track versus Clary, to be honest, in that game. I think that Track gets forward a little bit more. I think they put more attention to Clary.
Yeah.
That's 30, not really
30-3 this week for Track.
Yeah,
it's just, he's going 160.
Yeah,
12% owned, more than I thought for Track too.
If you don't have, say, a Mills or a Stewart, I actually would go VC because it's a Saturday night game. I'd go VC Bont on the Saturday night against Carlton. Same reason that I VC'd Jordan Dawson against Carlton, and same reason I VC'd Dunkley against Carlton, is that for whatever reason, whoever gets the Crips matchup and they're a big mid, like he can't intimidate them, he can't push them around. Like it's a genuine 1v1. I'm also 193, 194. Like these guys, they just go nuts. And so Bont's the same size, but Bont's leading the league in clearances. So he's not.
Can we also say the limitation where it really only kind of works if you have Rouston?
No, Madden.
Or Agwin.
Or
is it
Madden?
Was it
Madden?
Oh,
like everyone's
Madden,
loophole.
Yeah,
like
there's also that guy. Like don't
that
bring
loophole,
logic.
mate. Yeah,
there's no restrictions this week,
and there's none because a lot of people have Marshall who's playing on the Sunday anyway. So
I think the captain option therefore is Dacos on the Sunday night.
Even Dawson.
GWS haven't really tagged so far this year, and I don't think they're going to with their lineup. I hazard a guess that that's probably Dawson's a good shout as well. So Dawson plays
St Kilda.
St Kilda. But I mean, the thing is Saints have been so far pretty restrictive. Like no one's really got a hold of them in terms of Supercoach scoring, right? Like, am I wrong there? Has anyone really gone massive against St Kilda?
No, the Freo defenders definitely, dude. Like if Dawson's
but mids.
Yeah,
but
and so did Zeeble.
And Zeeble. So if
Dawson's not playing defender.
Yeah, I know, but there's that potential where he can float back along that
is true.
That defensive 50. Like he's going to do it more than a lead or anyone else.
That's a game for like Millera and
but I can
Michelini and those guys.
I can see if St Kilda are playing this stupid game style and they're just letting and the opposition get forced into it. Dawson just flinging himself back at half back.
There's also the opportunity that what we see last week from mids with St Kilda, they all went shit. So LDU went shit. Cunnington went shit. Like because if you play that chip style against St Kilda, which I don't know why you would as Adelaide, they are an attacking football team right now. There's not enough stoppages to make Dawson a viable option if he's playing midfield. The only way he's a viable option is if he drops behind the ball and plays a halfback. But
he can easily do that in the game. He adjusts himself to whatever the style is going for that game. Like I've watched him in quarters just go, okay, this is what's happening.
And he did that against Collingwood.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
like, and so was that Freo as well? I think Fremantle was the big game he had, and he did the exact same thing.
See, Freo mids, big mids against Freo. Oh, Callum Mills. Going huge.
Dawson game did drop back as well. Like
but Callum Mills
just depending on what the game style is. And Mills is a bit similar, and that he'll just so. Yeah, I've got a lot more. I've got probably slightly more confidence in Dawson just over Dacos, but I know what you're saying. Dacos is probably not getting tagged. So.
The thing is, if Dacos doesn't get tagged, he goes 130 plus.
He probably does.
Like that's.
But I'm confident Dawson's going 120 anyway as a backup.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm happy with Dacos.
Either way,
in my opinion,
I think either way. It's you got confident in both of them.
You've got essentially two of the highest averaging guys for the year. As a backup option if you want a VC Bont, who I think is going huge.
I don't expect Dacos or Dawson to go like ridiculously huge, but it's a safety 120 backup.
Yeah, that's
great.
True.
Yeah.
Any comments, Ben, or are you just
Ben's
like
got no
trying to absorb it?
No, I'm just admiring Swizz just attaching Dawson to the Dacos and then justifying it on how, but they're both great guys and they're both really safe.
Well, safe.
Admiring it. Is that what
just admiring it? No, I think Clary and Bont are pretty much the easiest go-tos for me. I don't have Dawson, and I just think I know. Well, he's too expensive for me.
Yeah,
now,
true.
I can't pay for it.
Out now.
So for me, Dacos has had a lower couple of games. I just probably wouldn't even let it get that far. To be honest, boys, I'd probably go with more of one of those riskier VCs, knowing that I can load into a Clary or a Bont. If I don't have a Clary, then I'd be trying to VC someone probably into a Bont because even at a low, you still know he's going to be going that 90 plus anyway.
And there's the number one rule in Supercoach. You do not captain somebody on a Sunday. It's
rough scenes, especially because Dacos is also under injury cloud as well.
Mate, every time we saw it with Lead round one, like every friggin' time you captain someone on a Sunday, they spud up something chronic.
I think only Dacos has disproven that on a Sunday theory. There hasn't been too many that have really towed up on a Sunday. But first night football, Thursday or Friday night, someone always goes huge.
It does.
Someone.
Always.
Stupidly. Chris, isn't that right, Chris? With your bloody Friday night VCs that come out somewhere.
Do you know the problem is? It's going to be Noah Anderson in that West Coast Gold Coast game. And people are going to bring him in, and he's going to go huge. You're like, I told you should have got Anderson.
Yeah, cool, man. Tell me what your rank is. Sorry. I'm
all for it for people ranked like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I afford Anderson? I won't go Dawson, stuff Dawson, but I'll pay $600K for Anderson.
I mean, here's the thing. If I go Stewart on a Friday night, I can't go Mills as a speculative. Like those two guys are huge ceiling guys, speculative picks. Either of those guys, and then it's C-Bond, like regardless of what it is. So that's what I'm trying up. It's either Stewart on the Friday night or it's the Callum Mills on the Saturday, and then back into a Bond.
100%.
Chris, can I just recommend maybe don't tagging me in what you're doing because maybe your success is part of the fact that I'm not part of it.
Just
and
message
if I had
me again,
joined
Chris,
you,
what
it would
you're
have
doing,
gone.
and I'll talk about it on my Friday morning pod and just confirmation.
Like I know, I want to hitch my wagon to your what do you call it? Hitch myself
to your train.
It's going to depend on whether or not, Richmond comes out and says, "Oh yeah, we might put some attention into Stewart."
We don't put
it's just not going to happen.
No, GWS said that. How'd that work?
We haven't done any attention ever.
Well, that's us.
We are more like, as I said, we are more likely to rough tackle and ill discipline stuff. Which Stewart will get his free kick in 54. Like Stewart could get a record number of free kicks this week. Yeah,
do you reckon Goulden gets tagged by Aish this week?
Well, that'd be nice.
I reckon there's an absolute legitimate chance that happens.
There is 200.
Yeah, or it's one of those ones where it's kind of maybe it's till half time and then they free it up or something like that.
Potentially, but
I
reckon seriously, if you're looking at bringing him in, just be aware that Aish plays wing.
Yeah,
and they look to him as a stopper.
Yeah, they do. defensive side.
Just be wary of it.
There's one thing we know about Freo; they don't like to follow through. Yeah, so interesting. Okay, well, look, that's pretty much made up for
2.5 hours,
for not much content last year. Let's wrap it up. Yeah, very, 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 very thorough analysis of the rookies, and then also strategy. I guess leading into the buys, because the buys are only 3 weeks away. Let's not.
This is probably the most one. I said the last 2 weeks have been like the most important weeks for Supercoach, right? So I'm glad that we got some decent content out there for the masses, but. Yeah, don't expect this every week. I guess
well, it's a pivotal moment as to where you shift right now, and take my advice. Listen to Chris and how he's going to progress, because Chris isn't giving you shit takes like Holmes and who was the other guy that you bloody put out there? So we've been throwing a lot of shade at each other today, more than usual.
And Walsh, mate, they're good players.
Actually, no, you're right. No, Walsh, I'll give you.
You can't not knock Track.
I like Track, just, but he's a little bit off the rails, that Track. All right, that's it. Hi and bye. Enjoy. Talk to you soon. And, we'll catch our individual segments, which probably won't be tonight unless, Chris will probably dog me. Yeah, see this guy right here. Let Ben do the hour of editing for a 2.5 hour bloody segment, and then Chris 100%. Puts his stuff up there, gets his 5,000 views before anyone's blinked.
Yeah, but 0% females. I know what I'm doing. Send him.
That's
the in-joke for those.
Once you sent me that stat, I was like to the other half. I'm like, I know what I bring now.
Side reference. Thank you. Each of the segments can bring up the demographic of the viewership, and Chris has the lowest lady ratio. I think
he gets those jukes out. He gets those jukes out, and you're thinking, "Wow, they're all over him," and that. And it's like, but the guys, those 30-year-old guys, thank you for keep supporting Chris.
The thing is, it's about the mug, right?
That's right.
Yeah, right. I was going to say from the neck down, he's not bad.
So thank you to all the ladies that tune in for my pod. We really appreciate your support.
It's that soft voice, bro.
It is.
I know.
Swizz talk.
Swizz talk. Maybe people are putting it on like a sleep track, Swizz, just to help them sleep.
I'll breathe softly to help you sleep.
He's actually just white noise. He's made his way over to baby music. Somehow the podcast is playing all night. It's so dull.
His new mum's sitting there, and then at 3 a.m, like, I'm just going to put Swizz on here.
I reckon it's some kind of like
60% of the time works every time.
Like a Melbourne City Council kind of thing, where he just forces the track on passengers on the train, just pushes it to the device.
Swizz, something you got to do tomorrow, mate. Something you got to do tomorrow. When you get off to like, I don't know, like the Flemington station or whatever.
No, he's not on tomorrow.
Whenever you're on next, just go second floor, menswear.
I do that all the time on the elevator.
Just do it for me, mate. Just do it for me.
Level floor. And Chris, on top of that, I have the bad habit of, if you open the door for someone, I'm like, welcome to the Sheraton. Or please visit again soon. Like it could be like a shopping center. It could be a car. It could be like a classroom, anything. It's like, welcome to the Sheraton.
I love it. That's amazing.
Hashtag no copyright 2023. That's it. That's us. That's Chris having a few beverages. That's Swizz high on cough syrup. And that's me. It's whiskey weather. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And adieu. See you next week.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.